Oh, so you're saying it's my fault, Jez Corden?
That's what chat's saying.
Is it my fault? Hey,
The chat's saying you said the time wrong. You said it an hour earlier than usual.
Whatever. I'm getting used to setting up this podcast thing again. Yeah, I was sick. Okay, I was sick for like 2 weeks.
I was waiting for that. You're gonna blame
Oh,
COVID.
you know what? I'm sorry. I'm sorry that I have to do everything around here, and something slipped, and I didn't set the podcast for the right time. But everybody knows what the right time is. We've been doing the show basically at the same time on the same day for 330 episodes now. Well, I guess not the same day. I mean, sometimes it was on a Wednesday, sometimes it was on a Thursday. Most of the time it's on a Friday, sometimes on Saturday, sometimes on a Monday. But everybody knows we basically start at the same time every single week. 3:15 p.m. Eastern, 2:15 Central, noon 15 Pacific. So my bad if I didn't set the time right. I'm sorry. Jeez. Anyways.
Jeez, Rand.
Yeah, I know.
Big Tubby says, Jez, mic problems incoming. Yes, maybe. There is something wrong with my microphone.
Yeah. Jez's mic, of course, has audio issues. You know what it is? It's just name a day with Y, and Jez has audio issues. It's pretty
I don't know if it's the cable or the mic. Could be either. But I'm going to try and get in touch with Elgato and find out. But one of them ain't working properly.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe I should just upgrade. Maybe I should get one of those badass super duper mics. The thing is about getting a badass super duper mic, it won't matter because I come through via Discord, which compresses my audio on your end, which then gets broadcast to the lovely folks in the Xbox 2 community. So there's literally no point me getting an expensive mic whatsoever. Maybe we should we should move off Discord and have a professional setup. I don't know, with cameras.
Yeah, but
in a studio.
Okay, a studio. What am I moving to Germany? Are you moving to Chicago?
No, I moved. Me and Andy will move to Chicago. We'll have a studio with a couch.
I mean, that'd be cool.
Some of these super duper pro podcasters. What are their names now? I don't know any pro podcasters. Like the only one I can think of is Joe Rogan. I was gonna say Tim Rogan. That's not his name at all. Joe Rogan. That professional guy will have a nice studio like him and professional guests like Neil deGrasse Tyson and talk about space. And then the money will flow, baby.
Yeah.
People love space. Everyone in chat, they love space.
Silas says Rand still sounds a little bit stuffy. I'm not surprised because I didn't actually start feeling 100% better until a couple days ago. I still had cough, which I may still cough here and there, and my nasal congestion didn't clear up until like 2-3 days ago. So I'm not surprised if I sound a little stuffy still, but I feel like 100. I mean, I'm pretty much like 100%. So yeah, it was fun. It was a fun 2+ weeks of not being able to breathe through my nose. Oh, how awful that was. Anyways,
it's so weird how everyone has it differently. Like, I didn't have any nose issues. It was all throat for me. It was all in the throat.
Anyways, we are live on this beautiful 70-degree day here in lovely Chicago, Illinois, on September 6th. And it's been a very, very interesting week in the video game world. We had Xbox in the news, games skipping platforms, and then games that were skipping the platform coming back to the platform.
Yeah.
We had the biggest flop in AAA gaming history, and also one of the highest rated games in quite a long time happened this week. So a lot of
same publisher.
Yeah, by the same publisher. Yeah, interesting. A lot of cool stuff. We'll discuss it all. So if you would be so kind to hit the like button as well as subscribing to the channel, we'd greatly appreciate it. How you feeling, Jez? I know like the last couple weeks has all been about me because I've been sick and stuff, but how you holding up over there?
I'm doing well, man. Can't complain. I've been hardcore I had last week off work. Very much needed. Recharge my batteries. This week's been nice coming back.
Mm-hmm.
Cool projects in the works. I've just been playing World of Warcraft non-stop. New
Of course.
expansion. It's amazing. Absolutely fantastic so far. Writing the review for that. That's pretty much it, man. That's all I've been doing. I've been trying to taking it easy, frankly. But you've been playing more than just World of Warcraft. No, you haven't been playing that at all.
I
You've
haven't
been
been playing
playing
that at
more.
all.
You've been playing more than me.
Actually, I mean, not that. I mean, usually when I'm sick, I don't really play games. So, like
You
I
have been
said, I
playing
did.
something.
Well, yeah, we'll talk about that in a minute. Like, obviously, the gameplay footage is Warhammer, so you can guess what I've been playing. Warhammer 40k Space Marine 2 for the Emperor, right? And all you heretics in chat better pick this game up and play it. But yeah, you also mentioned to me again how you cried again in World of Warcraft. Another cinematic showed up,
Dude.
and you just couldn't control your emotions and just
Uh,
shed
I
manly tears all over the place.
I was overwhelmed with emotions.
Yeah.
The story delivery in World of Warcraft, they've taken a huge leap forward. You know, new tech, like the actual, facial motion capture in the game now, which I've never had before, or at least not to this degree. Actually, in-engine gestures, rather than just pre-rendered stuff that they rip the models out and then put it through Blender and stuff. It's been fantastic, man. The expansion's just been, from a story direction perspective, so good. Some of the systems I've got questions about
Questions.
the direction.
Yeah.
Questions. So, it's still not going to be a perfect score from me, but yeah, it's been
Yeah, right.
absolutely
You want to
fantastic.
give it a perfect score. You want to give it a 5 out of
I'm
5, I
usually
suppose.
No, I'm usually super critical on WoW. Like I think the last expansion I reviewed, I think I gave it an 8. One before that, I think I gave it a 7 or 6 even maybe. So I'm usually pretty critical of World of Warcraft, um but so far it's looking up for the game. I just wonder if like the game is capable of growing anymore. I just wonder if like they're just catering to the same people over and over again, and it's just impossible to get new players because of how dated the graphics are and stuff like that. But we'll see, we'll see.
You know,
I
you
got
could potentially have a whole bunch of new players waiting in the wings if you decide to ever make it for console.
that is absolutely true. That is absolutely true. But will they? Will they do
I
that?
don't know. I don't know.
Mm.
I mean, it's where maybe their growth would be, potentially.
I think so. I mean, I always thought like the game maybe was too complicated for a controller, but there's an add-on called Console Port. Wow, which lets people play it on the Steam Deck, and people are on there saying, "Oh yeah, I've healed like the hardest dungeons in the game." Because I was always thinking like, man, it'd just be impossible to heal with a controller, but people are doing it. So maybe it's not impossible. Maybe I'm just not thinking outside the box enough. But we'll see. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
All right. Let's get through some of this housekeeping stuff, and we'll get into the show. This week's episode is once again brought to you by Manscaped. Right, Jez?
Indeed. Once again, Xbox 2 is brought to you by Manscaped. Fellas, do you want your grooming routine to be a one and done deal? Well, the days of using the same trimmer for your face and your private parts are over, thanks to our friends at Manscaped. They come up with the ultimate package to keep your hair trimmed from 12 to 6. Introducing the Beard and Balls bundle, featuring the Lawnmower 5.0 and the Beard Hedger, a trimmer for the moneymaker and another for the boys downstairs. First up, your balls' new best friend, the Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra. Say goodbye to endless passes. This trimmer gets it right the first time, cutting through the busiest of bushes effortlessly while being gentle on the skin and your delicate places. Next, let's talk about the Beard Hedger. Whether you're going for a neat stubble or for a full-on lumberjack look, this trimmer has you covered, featuring a titanium-coated stainless steel T-blade and 20 length options. You can achieve any style you want with a twist of the zoom wheel. Get all this and more with the Beard and Balls bundle and snatch 20% off and free shipping with the code XB2 at manscaped.com. That's code XB and the number 2 for 20% off, free shipping for the premium grooming experience over at manscaped.com. And thanks to Manscaped for sponsoring this podcast once again. I do love me some Manscaped, Rand, especially in the summer. Especially in the summer, because, get a bit sweaty. You can drop some crop preserver on yourself. Make sure everything's nice and trim and tidy. But yeah, Manscaped been very good to us. How many years now? 2 years? 3 years? Lost count of how many testicles we've saved on Xbox 2.
Right.
Thanks to Manscaped. Oh, man. Yeah, it's Manscaped. And Rand's choking to death, I think.
No, I'm fine. I'm good.
Rand survives. He's surviving.
Yeah. We also have the wonderful people at patreon.com/XB2.
I'm going to read them as well.
Yeah. Yeah, you can read them. You can read them, yeah.
And we've got patreon.com/XB2 shoutouts. Thank you very much to everyone on Patreon who subscribes, supports us, all that stuff. You get free weekly questions over there, guaranteed at the end of every show. And also the Xbox 2+1 Xbox 2 Ultimate shows as well, which are exclusive to Patreon initially at the very least. So these are the shoutouts. We've got Tia, Shrapnel, Inner Machine, Xbox Dave, Just James 93, Jay Peltier, Thurgus, Holy Dark Death, Steve Stompy, James Wazo, Tricks of a Tray, Bad Haddock, Army Dude, 52C, Ryan Keipel, Foreign Object, Mythic Marty, Moronic Donkey 99, Randall Thor 19, The Man with the COVIDs, Silas, Eric Gregory, James Moore, Fantasticals, Catriox, Bright 101, Discarded Caboose, Justin Duell, Frank Marino, Prebro King, Ace and Madison, Governor Graham, DZ Huffin, Wagaman Achievement, The Scarecrow 121, Adam Bartolo, Darren Torpy, Professor JJJ, and Wolfgang KPZ. Thanks, guys, so much for supporting us, and thanks everyone else in the ticker, and everyone else, no matter what tier you're on. Thanks so much for supporting us over at patreon.com/XB2.
Yeah, we'll see if we can get some work together for Tuesday, so. What's up, Lethal? I see you in the chat, buddy. What's up, Achievement, Guybrush, Eisenford, Silas, GS Richie, Roy's Toy for the Big Boys. Glad to see everybody in the chat. Guybrush says, are you feeling better? Yeah, I pretty much feel like 100%. Sometimes I'll get like a little cough, so I might cough here and there during the show, but I feel a lot better than I did last week when I did the show, and like a million times better than when I was sick through that back half of August. So we're on the mend. We're way better. If you don't some of those things you don't appreciate until it's taken away from you, like the ability to breathe through your nose. Because it's like, you don't lose it that very often. Even when you would get the flu, at least not having like both nostrils be completely just clogged. Right, you maybe would have one or whatever, or you'd be runny. But this one, it was just like the pressure in my nasal cavity was just ridiculous. Like I was blowing my nose or just, pressing the one like a finger into the side of the nose to just like blow it all out.
Oh,
constantly.
Right. No, it's fine.
Constantly.
It's fine. Please no.
And it would just like literally just. It would be completely filled again. And I'd be sitting there like, oh my God, this is awful. It's a good thing I could breathe through my mouth.
Oh, mate.
I would have to go to the hospital and had to be put on a respirator or something.
Oh, really?
I'm insane. If I couldn't breathe through my mouth, I would have to have been,
oh, right.
would have gone to the hospital or whatever.
I get yous.
Anyways, there's a lot to talk about this week. I want to talk about gaming, obviously, like video games, not so much like what's going on in the industry, but so I sat down to play more Star Wars Outlaws, which we talked a little bit about last week, and I didn't really get to much play it last week because like I said, I don't really like to play games when I'm sick. I did get to play a couple hours, and it was kind of one of those things where it was like, all right, it was just kind of the beginning, and I was like, let's see how this opens up. So I sat down to play some more, and maybe it's because it was earlier in the week and I still wasn't feeling great. But man, I was just not having a lot of fun with Star Wars Outlaws. I was just, and I like Star Wars. I mean, I'm not like one of those people that say the prequels are amazing, like Jez does. But, one of my favorite games of last year, and even of like this entire generation, is Star Wars Jedi Survivor. And I was hooked from that game like the second you play it, right? The gameplay mechanics, the world, all the things that game offered. It was like fucking incredible, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm still waiting for the hook to get me in this game. Because it's like, I don't really care too much for the main character. I don't really think the game looks all that great, to be honest with you. Like, graphically. Well, you know, it's not like, I don't know. I feel like Survivor looked much better. And I'm not really digging the story. And considering I'm a stealth dude, like, I like stealth games. I mean, I played Cyberpunk pretty much as stealthily as you could imagine, because we don't get a lot of games like that. Even a lot of the stealth elements felt very antiquated and not well thought out. And maybe it's because it's the beginning of the game, and maybe because it's the headspace I was in. I was like, you know what? I'm shelving this game for now. I'm putting it away.
Damn.
And I normally don't do that. I normally do not do that. Usually I start a game up, I finish it. But maybe because of like how I was feeling and everything, I was like, you know, let me play something else. So I started up Warhammer 40K Space Marine 2, which is a sequel to a game that came out during the 360 generation, and a game that I thought we never would see again, because I'm not necessarily sure if the original game sold very well. I mean, it skipped a generation, didn't it, Jez? I mean, it came out during the 360 gen. We didn't get a sequel during the Xbox One generation. Here we are, halfway through this generation, and we have a sequel. So I kind of thought,
why it skipped last generation.
Yeah, I don't know. But I was a big fan of Warhammer Space Marine, the first game. I don't know really anything about the universe. If you were to come to me and be like, you know, what's the backstory and the lore of Warhammer Space Marine? Because I think there's like different variants of Warhammer. Isn't there like a war? I don't know. Like it's like a Warhammer game with like big rats or something. But this Warhammer game here,
yeah, there's Warhammer Fantasy, which is Warhammer Vermintide you're thinking of.
Okay.
And there's Warhammer 40K in the dark future.
Yeah.
There's only war,
the eternal war.
Well, there's always war. It's Warhammer.
So It's like
what really kind of bugs. This is like slightly off topic, but really bugs me how Warhammer ripped off World of Warcraft, bro.
Did it?
Yeah. You know, Warcraft. You know, Warcraft ripped off, bro. Warhammer's even got orcs in it, all that stuff.
Okay.
I think that joke's lost on you.
I think it probably is.
But basically,
it kind of just went over my head because I'm just like, huh?
Blizzard wanted to make a Warhammer game originally, and they couldn't get the license, so they ripped it off, basically. That's how we got Warcraft and StarCraft. Basically. But yeah, continue.
Yeah, so I don't really know much about the lore, and I know it is rich, right? There's tons of backstory and lore for everything in the universe, tons of books and stuff. But I just remember how much I enjoyed the 360 game. How it was kind of a Gears of War-ish game, but without any cover, because you were this huge hulking man, like machine, and you were just like, you just drop into these battles with your like big chunky armor, and you would just like use your guns and your sword, and it didn't matter. You'd have these things rushing at you, and you were just chopping them to bits. You would rip them rip them apart above your head, and just bathe in the blood of your enemies, you know, while praising, exalting the Emperor, right? I was like, yeah, this is a fun little twist on the good old third-person, cover shooter game, where it's like, we're gonna get rid of the shooter, and we're just gonna be a just destructive, like force that you haven't seen, right? And they do a pretty good job of like, you see your character and how big and like how bulky he moves when you have the controller, and then you actually see like the regular people and how small they are. And then you're just like this huge hulking monstrosity. It's great, dude. It's great. Like that whole visual. So yeah, I started playing the single player campaign. They have the single player campaign, which I believe you can play with up to 3 people. So you can play 3-player
Yep,
co-op.
I think so.
And if
Yeah.
you don't have any
3 player co-op,
friends, you have 2 bots that'll play with you.
good old bot.
There's also like an operations mode, which is kind of like an offshoot to the campaign, where that's where you like pick a class and you have a bunch of different things, and there's like 6 missions in that, and that's also co-op. You can like level up, and then there's the PvP, the War Eternal, where you're fighting against other Space Marines, and
Are they Chaos Marines?
maybe I don't
Do
know.
they have black armor?
I mean, I haven't played the multiplayer yet, and I'm not going to play the multiplayer, right?
Why not?
Because I'm just playing the campaign. I'm gonna play through the
Heresy,
campaign.
man.
I'm gonna play through the operations.
Heresy, bro.
Maybe I'll play some of the multiplayer. But it's very interesting because to me,
I wonder if it's got wall bouncing like Gear.
to me,
It does look a bit Gears of War-ish when you look at it, but
yeah, to me, what this game is this is like a 360 throwback, right? Where nowadays, like multiplayer games are their own mode, and it's like, here's the live service, here's the mode, and you play it. When back during the 360 era, every single player game came with like a tacked on multiplayer mode, right? That's just how it was done. You don't really see that a lot anymore. So I sort of wonder, we have a couple scenarios just released in the last couple weeks. We have Concord, the 5v5 live service game from PlayStation that is just like the biggest failure of all time. And then you have Warhammer, which, you know, kind of just takes from its legacy of having the multiplayer as just part of the package. And I wonder how that'll be received in this day and age, because it's been quite a long time since the last game came out. But right now, I am really digging the campaign. I think I'm a couple levels in. I don't think it's very long. I think it's maybe about 10 hours, give or take, to go through the campaigns. But if you like that sort of horde gameplay, because that's what this game's all about. It's all about just fighting the unrelenting hordes of these Xenos as your
Tyranids, right?
Something with a T. Tyranids, yeah. Something with a T.
Yeah, Tyranids.
And the way it's all set up is like you'll get overrun quick. Like there's no cover to take, and your armor will get down, pretty fast, and then they'll start attacking your health. But they want you in there being aggressive. This isn't something where you're hiding and you're going to be dodge rolling a lot. You want to be in the middle of it, hitting your sword combos and pairing attacks. It's really good. Like there's this these enemies, they'll attack you and you'll see like a blue light, and if you parry it, they'll jump into your sword. Like the parry kill animations just are great. Like they'll jump at you and you parry it on time, and then boom, they'll just like land on your sword and you'll rip them apart. And then like the bigger Xenos, like the smaller Xenos are just there to kind of, okay, I'm gonna get them rid of some ground control. I'm gonna whip out my bolt pistol, kill them. The bigger ones though, you'll actually have like a melee combat against, and then they'll actually physically assault you, which you can parry, and then they'll flash red, which then you can do your melee finisher. And there's very unique different animations for the melee finishers, and when you do that, you get your armor back, and I think you'll get any like health back from within any of the segment that you had just lost. So they really want you to play aggressively and to do all those things so you can get your armor back and get your health back. But it's a one-track kind of game, though. I mean, that is what the game does.
Chat, Devilbringer asked, is it a Muso game like Dynasty Warrior? Or is it more like it actually has a linear sort of campaign? Like
I would say it has more of a linear story, a linear campaign. I think these are the devs that made World War Z, if I'm not mistaken. So it's much more of a zombie game, but with like these Xenos. And so most of the scenarios, you'll just come to an area. There'll be a huge bunch of aliens, you'll beat them, and then you move on to the next. I mean, you've played games like this. I mean, the level design and the linear of this is just, it is what it is. That's the type of game it is. There's not.
Would you compare it to Gears?
Yeah, Gears is a good comparison in that sense of like, you get into a fight, you move on to the next thing, you get some linear corridors, some story exposition, you get to the next big open area. But the thing that's not like Gears is there's no cover, and it's all just aggressive attacking.
Space Marines don't take cover, dude.
Space Marines don't take cover. But that's what that game is. So, and that's kind of exactly what the first game was.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, don't go in expecting, something it's not. It's very much.
If you set your expectations appropriately, you'll have a blast with it.
Yeah.
But if I find like sometimes people expecting like, I don't know, 50 hours with crafting and fishing and.
No, thank God. Thank God, there's no crafting in this. So,
yeah.
But it's great. It's great. It's a lot of fun. And I would imagine, like, man, if you actually were into like Warhammer 40K Space Marine, this stuff would be probably amazing. If you were like that deep into all this stuff, you'd probably be like, this is the greatest thing of all time,
Yeah. Yeah,
so,
I got family members who were super into Warhammer 40K. They know all the lore, and in the group chat, they're just popping off about all this stuff. So that's the only reason I know anything about it is from watching them talk about it, because I never really got into it as a when I was younger. It always felt like, oh man, it's just too much to this universe to really penetrate it and get into it. But the game looks absolutely fantastic.
Yeah. Dr. Scotty says,
aesthetic,
he says, really I'm excited for it, but it looks like slow Doom. I mean, it's nowhere near as fast as Doom. You're just this big hulking machine of a man, or I think you're.
They're Space Marines are heavy.
Yeah.
They are heavy and slow. So it's never gonna feel like Doom.
Yeah, you're not like using like jumping all over the arena, switching weapons like that, because you can only have 2 weapons, two guns, and then like if you want a short knife, if you want a chain sword, if you want a big hammer or a power sword, you'll come across like all the different. There'll be like weapon drops. Be like, okay, there's like a different type of, you got your like I said, your pistol. They're different type of little pistols, different type of rifles as your main weapons, and that's it. You got your two main weapons. You got your melee weapon. You got some grenades. You got a healing ability that you can only hold 2 of, and you do also have another ability like Righteous Fury that you fill up the bar. You press Y, and you kind of, the screen goes like golden, and like every enemy you kill gives you health back, because you are going to be low on health all the time. You are going to be fighting for it. You are going to be at your limit. Your armor is going to be ripped up. Your health's going to be down because you're constantly just being swarmed by enemies. But like that whole gameplay loop is basically like kill, do melee kills, executions to get that stuff back. Use the environment to your advantage. There'll be plenty of times where you'll come into an area and you'll see some explosive cans, and then you'll see this horde running at you and just light them up. Throw some grenades at them, blow them up. There's just all there for you to kill, but it's a lot of fun.
It looks fantastic, man, and I kind of feel like Warhammer's having a bit of especially Warhammer 40K is having a bit of a video game renaissance right now. You got Space Marine 2, which is reviewed really well. You also had that boomer shooter recently, the old school shooter, Warhammer 40K Bolt Gun, I think it was called.
Yeah.
That was really fun as well.
They do like to license out their properties.
Oh god, yeah. But
there was Warhammer Darktide that came out.
Warhammer, Darktide, but you also had Darktide was alright. I dropped off that quicker than I expected to, but it was alright. And then Warhammer 40K Rogue Trader, which I think a lot of people have overlooked. Rogue Trader is really good. Really, really good. It's like Baldur's Gate, it's a CRPG. from Elcat Games. They make the Kingmaker games, which are also very popular. So if you enjoy Baldur's Gate and you like, Warhammer 40k, definitely check out Rogue Trader. Some of the stuff you can do in that game is crazy. And yeah, it's on console. So yeah.
Yeah. It's I think the Warhammer is reviewed pretty well. It's like an 82 or an 83. Now I know maybe that doesn't really compare to the 94 of Astro Bot. What a great score that game got. I'm not surprised. I mean, I've been saying for months, ever since the game's announced, I think Astro Bot's my most anticipated game of the fall. It was like Astro Bot, Indiana Jones, and I think it was like Warhammer were the games that I was looking forward to the most in that order. So, because like I played Astro Bot.
Terrible taste.
Yeah, terrible taste. No, I played it because I played Astro Bot, the version that came free with the PS5, and it was a lot of fun. You could sense the love that the developers had for the PlayStation pedigree, the PlayStation history, and all that sort of stuff. And it was like, oh, here, we have a little game to kind of utilize the DualSense controller features. And I was like, man, if they just like built the actual real game out of this and fleshed it out, it could be something. So I'm not surprised that the game is scoring as high as it is. I mean, you look at all like the Mario games that have come out over the years, like Mario Galaxy 1 and 2 or Super Mario Odyssey and stuff. Like, people have an affinity for well-done platformers. They score really high. Now, I guess you could say, well, that's Mario. And that is true. Mario's like on a different kind of level than most other games. But Astro, for a lot of people, with the nostalgic PlayStation trip that they'll probably be on with it and some of the cool stuff it does with the controllers and stuff, I'm not surprised it scored that high. I'm probably going to play it this weekend. I did buy it last night, as I usually always wait to buy things until like, I don't know, it's like they'll have their pre-orders up forever. And I always just kind of feel like, why would I pre-order something until I can download it? So I like never pre-order anything until I can essentially download the game. And a lot of times when you pre-order something, you don't even get to download the game until a couple days beforehand. So if I know I'm playing a game, I'll just pre-order it like the day before or the night before. So that's what I'm going to check out next. I'll check out Astro Bot, finish off Warhammer 40k, and then go back to Star Wars Outlaws to see if my feelings have changed about it, or if it's just going to be one of those games that I just delete. One of those rare instances where I start a game and just don't finish it because it didn't catch my attention. That doesn't happen very often, but it does happen here and there. I don't like starting something and then not finishing it. I like to finish it. That's even the same thing with my books. Like, there's not a book I've started to read that I just basically did not finish. I always finish stuff. So,
I do not always finish stuff, and I have to say though, I agree with you completely about Star Wars Outlaws so far. Like, I think I mentioned briefly last week that the novelty of Star Wars was keeping me in the game, and everyone listening to this knows how I feel about the Ubisoft checklist style game development.
Yeah, you're not a fan.
But I thought Star Wars maybe is enough to make me look beyond that and find something that I can enjoy. But I eventually was just like, man, I just can't play this anymore. The Ubisoftification started just washing over every aspect of the game, and I just started that droning boredom just hit me like a curtain of pain, Rand.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I'm going back to grinding herbs and WoW.
I'm watching some of the gameplay of Warhammer. Some of this like art design is so good. Like, look at this dude's armor design. He's got like a skull.
And you don't even notice it when you're cutting the monsters apart.
Yeah, but like, look at this dude who's talking to you.
Video.
Look at his armor design. Look at his face. He's just got like a big Skeletor mask on and stuff. Like, the art design is crazy in this.
And I'll tell you something. The scary thing about Warhammer, right? And this is why I find it so intimidating as a franchise is everything that you see in the art has like lore behind it. Like the armor designs, the emblems they've got, all that stuff. The, it's all purposeful. All that has meaning in the lore, and all these like the tech priests walking around, all that stuff, and people are crazy with it, man. They know everything. They know everything about it, and it's like, man, how could I ever get into this? But one of the exciting things about it is potentially exciting, I should say, is Amazon is making a TV show based on Warhammer 40k, and it's being produced by Henry Cavill, who is the arch Warhammer 40k nerd who paints the little figurines and all that kind of stuff. So hopefully, what we could end up seeing is Warhammer 40k TV show is really good. It blows up franchise with the mainstream, and then we end up seeing Space Marine become this huge franchise, maybe. Because I really do feel like Space Marine is the flagship Warhammer product right now.
Yeah.
And it's really cool for Cyber because they've long been a double A studio, and I think they're just on the cusp. They're on the edge of getting to that next level, I think. So
I'm just gonna make sure it's Saber, not like somebody else. Yeah, it is Saber. Okay.
Yeah, it's Saber. I thought shit, was it Saber? Am I going crazy? Yeah, Tim, and Tim Willits is the chief creative officer of Saber Interactive. Tim Willits directed, I believe, Doom 2016. And also Rage 2. But
one of those is not like the other.
Yeah. So Willits is lead designer on Doom 3, executive producer on Quake 4, creative director on Rage, Quake Live, and Quake Champions. And he was involved he was studio director for Doom 2016 and Rage 2, and Warhammer 40k Space Marine 2 is his first game since leaving id Software. So yeah, he's pretty much a legend in the space, Tim Willits, to be honest. And I suppose like it's having like that kind of key personnel which helps Cyber get to that next level. But like Warhammer 40k as a franchise, if the TV show is good, it could do for 40k what Fallout TV show did for
is true.
The Fallout game. So
yeah.
It's exciting, man. I really want to get into Warhammer 40k, but it's just so intimidating. There's just so much to it, man.
Yeah.
So much to it. But I'm definitely going to play this. It does look fantastic.
Yeah, I think you'll really enjoy it.
Yeah, you know me, like my violence.
Yeah, this is definitely right up your alley just because of the violence. It is super gory.
I look at this though, and I can't help but think like, what would this exact game look like if it was StarCraft? Because StarCraft is basically a sort of Blizzard spin on Warhammer. It's a similar kind of format. You got Space Marines in huge blue outfits. You got sort of Tyranids in the Zerg. Very similar, at least superficially. I feel like I think like StarCraft, if they do StarCraft, they've got to make an RTS first for the core fans. But then like StarCraft could easily translate into something like this, a mature, hyper-violent Gears of War kind of sci-fi game, dude. I want more games like this.
Yeah.
There's been some discourse on Twitter this week. I don't know if you've seen it, like from I think Tom Henderson kicked it off, where it was like I'm paraphrasing here slightly, but he said something like
let's get his tweet so we can read it properly, shall we? I'll see if I can find it.
Yeah. It was something along the lines of we should get more 15 to 20 hour games that cost a little less. I think maybe costing a little less.
Yeah, he says with development costs continuing to rise and AAA games now costing hundreds of millions of dollars, do you think publishers will continue to double down on a live service formula? Or do you think we'll see a change in direction in the coming years? Personally, I love to see more streamlined and shorter games, 15 to 20 hours in the 30 to 40 price. That's absurd. That's way too optimistic. 15 to 20 hours in the $30-$40 price range. Come on.
That's naive. That's naive.
Yeah.
Especially if we're talking photorealistic games. But like 15 to 20 hour games that are like Space Marine, where I can just actually fucking finish them, I would be more than happy with that. You know, I'm not everything needs a battle pass, but maybe the industry thinks everything needs a battle pass. I don't know. But like I've literally stopped playing Overwatch because the battle pass aspect of Overwatch just makes me like I can't dedicate any more time to battle passes. You know, I can either do Diablo, and I've got the Warcraft grind, which is Warcraft is my cozy game. I'm calling it my cozy game. And the Diablo can be a grind season over season. And you're asking me to grind Overwatch as well? And then, like, you even look further afield, like stuff like Fortnite or Rocket League, and all these games are battle passes. And we've got Genshin Impact coming to Xbox soon as well, which of course has battle passes, and then you know all the grind associated with that. There's only a finite amount of time everyone has to dedicate to this shit. Can't we just have? I think what publishers should do is they should be like, okay, we're gonna have one flagship live service game, and then we're gonna have a lot more one and done kind of games. I would be happy with that, personally. You know, not everything needs to be a live service, and evidently so, because we've got the Concord stuff to talk about in a bit, but also X-Defiant. Tom Henderson again reported recently. Tom Henderson has very good Ubisoft sources, and Tom Henderson recently reported that X-Defiant has lost a significant portion of its player base, and X-Defiant has been hailed as, you know, the Call of Duty killer by some people. Not quite, I think, especially given how Black Ops 6 seems to be getting received quite well right now. But I don't know. And we all know where you stand on live service. You don't really touch them at all, do you?
No, I mean, I played PUBG for, 800 hours or whatever it was. But I mean, I eventually fell off of it. I mean, I'll dabble in it. You know, my friend group that plays all that stuff, it's hard to really get together anymore. You know, like one of them had a kid, so that's like, obviously, you know, the kid takes priorities. It can't be on all the time like you used to. One of them's got a girlfriend who, is getting very serious about. And, obviously, like, can't get on and play all the time. Everybody's... It's hard to really come together to play something. And, like, honestly, there isn't really a lot of new multiplayer stuff. Like, we all played Rainbow Six Siege and all fell off of it. We all played Apex Legends and all fell off of it, right? Played PUBG, fell off that. Like, all the big games that came out, we all played for a bit, and then we all just fell off of it. But there's, like, nothing new. And then when you do get something new like Concord, it just, like, looks like generic, like Guardian. Yeah, we have Guardian. Can we have Guardians of the Galaxy, Mom? No, yeah, we have Guardians of the Galaxy at home. At Concord, It's just... But nobody wants to even touch it because, it's like, I'm not paying $40, $50 for this thing. Because everybody expects everything to be free,
Dude, I keep forgetting that it's not free.
Yeah.
Because in my head, it's just like everything multiplayer shooter should, especially if you don't have a campaign, should be free.
Isn't the whole...
But I just keep forgetting it because it seems insane to me.
Isn't it the whole argument about all this? It comes down to publishers see live service as an infinite money pressing system, right? That it's a game that's always on 24/7, that people are playing constantly, and people are spending money in and day out. But then they look at, like, single player games as antiquated because after that initial purchase, you don't really engage with with the game again in a monetary manner, unless it has oodles of DLC or perhaps expansions. So when you look at it strictly from like an investor perspective, which all these companies are, they're not a charity. They have to make money. When you're evaluating the options of what you should put money into, they're probably looking at it like, well, something like a Concord or something like, any other multiplayer game might give us a bigger return versus, okay, we're going to put out this Warhammer game, but this Warhammer game doesn't really, once someone buys it, they're not really spending any more money on it. And we know publishers are greedy, and we know this industry is a copycat industry. Whatever is super popular and makes the most money, everybody else is going to come copy it. And that's exactly what happened. So, while I enjoy, the shorter games, right? Like, hell yeah, I want a really cool 10-hour campaign for a game or a 15-hour, right? I don't see those games being priced at $30. I think that's a little bit wishful thinking. They'll be $70. I know Warhammer's got the campaign, but it also has the multiplayer. And I see people complaining about Astro Bot's length, because I guess there's full walkthroughs on YouTube already, and Astro Bot's like 7 or 8 hours or something if you play through it, but I guess longer if you want to find all the secrets. And Warhammer's campaign is like 8 hours or even less. So now there are people out there, and I'm sure you've seen people make this argument that $70 for 8 hours or 9 hours is too much. That's just way too much money for something with that small of playtime, which is why all like the bigger games all became these huge open world markers everywhere, all these quests, so you could be like, hey, our game is 30 hours, 40 hours, 50 hours, 60 hours. So it felt like the consumer, you were getting your money's worth, where you'd be like, oh man, I'm going to spend $70? Yeah, I'm going to get 60 hours out of this thing, right? So I don't know. What do consumers really want? What do they really want? That's the question. But do consumers even really know? Right? Do they
consumers
even
don't know?
Consumers don't know.
The thing, right?
I don't know.
There are people who love Warhammer 40k enough that they'll go out, not only buy this, but they'll buy the collector's edition if there is one. The
there is one. It's $120,
stuff.
and I think the collector's edition is like $250 or whatever it is. Because Warhammer had 3 editions, Jez. $70, $100, and $120.
Yeah,
and then I think a collector's edition for $250.
But people will pay that. They exist because people will pay that, and they love Warhammer 40k enough to do it. But there's some other people who are like, okay, $70 for 8 hours or 10 hours or whatever it is too much for me. I'll wait for a sale. And they'll wait for a sale, and this game will go on sale eventually on Steam and all those other places, and then they'll get it there, and then Warhammer will get that market after the what do they call it now? The post. I can't remember what they call it. I'm losing my memories, but there's a word they've got for it when you're like, after the game's initial launch wave, then it has this longer tail where people start buying it when it's on sale, and and it can still sell through quite a lot of copies when it starts going on sale and stuff like that. And I think something like Warhammer would be able to capture a lot of that audience because of the IP attached to it and the masses of passionate fans around that IP and that franchise and stuff like that. But I think other games, like especially new franchises that no one cares about, I think would have a harder time. Think of something like, I don't know, Forspoken, for example. Like no one knows what Forspoken is. No one cares about it. No one's passionate about the franchise because they don't know what it is because it's the first game in the franchise. I think it's very hard to sell that kind of experience if you aren't already a fan of the franchise. So I think you can do that with something like Warhammer. Even something like Star Wars, Star Wars Outlaws. I think even though the game is, most people would agree it's pretty mid. I think there's probably enough Star Wars fans out there that the game will end up turning a profit at some point, probably not anytime soon, because there's another point from this week. Ubisoft's share price hit a 10-year low.
Mm-hmm.
Part of that was because of global markets, but I think we can't attribute all of
I
it.
think some of it was through Star Wars. I mean,
yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Some, even like the IPs, maybe not enough to save a game if it's mid, but the competition for free time is more hardcore than it's been maybe ever. Because video games aren't just competing with like other video game companies. They're competing with all forms of instantly gratifying, media entertainment services at the end of the day. Back in the day, like if you wanted to watch a movie, you had to physically make the effort to go to cinema, go and rent something, but now it's like with the Netflix era, instant gratification is around us all the time at all times, which sort of, eats video game industry's lunch to some degree. But yeah, I don't know. I think the game looks fantastic, but the industry's still going through this sort of, I don't know what you call it, this sort of generalized confusion where a lot of developers and publishers are looking at the kind of money something like Genshin Impact makes, and not just the amount of money, but also the profit margin. As in, like, they spend this much money to make Genshin Impact, and they get this much in return on Genshin Impact. The profit margins on Genshin Impact are insane. They are truly insane. It's one of the most profitable games ever.
Profit margins on Black Myth Wukong.
Well, yeah, but that's the thing.
Well, that's where I wonder if that's where the industry might be looking towards in the future, because
China.
Well, I mean, look at that game. 18 million copies in 2 weeks, which is on the level of a Call of Duty or a Grand Theft Auto, right? On an $80 million budget or $70 million budget, you're talking about $700 million that you've made in just 2 weeks. And like I told you before, and I constantly say it.
I don't think Western publishers can really access the kind of success.
They probably can't, but guess what? God damn it, they're going to try, because it's a copycat industry.
What was that voice?
And I don't know. It's just they're gonna try. That was maybe my my posh my posh UK accent. They're gonna try because they're gonna see that company making all that money and hitting, those numbers over there, and it's like, why? You're not gonna tell me that like there are meetings at Ubisoft or Microsoft or any stuff like, we need that. Well, why aren't we there?
People need to understand that a Western publisher accessing the Chinese market is not the same as a Chinese publisher accessing the Chinese market. When a company from outside China wants to sell a cultural product in China, they have to basically give away all their profits to a local publisher, or a vast, large amount of it, which makes it not worthwhile for a lot of publishers. Like even a Microsoft would balk at the idea in some cases, which is why like you only see these super profitable service games go over to China, because at least then there's something left for the Western publisher. So like when it comes to a one and done kind of game like a Black Myth Wukong or even a Space Marine, it's a way different scenario. So I don't think that they're going to be able to replicate that, because I don't know. I mean, something could change, in terms of the rules there for publishing and stuff. Maybe they become a little bit more open when it comes to that kind of thing. But man, it's a complicated. It's a whole thing. Publishing a game in China.
No, I'm just saying, but
it's a whole thing.
People are gonna look at that game and be like, I want to sell 18 million copies in 2 weeks. I want to make $700 million.
Yeah. I've been playing it. I've been playing Black Myth Wukong on my Legion Go. It runs really well on the handhelds, actually, which is interesting considering the discourse around optimization, right? But it runs really well, and it is a fantastic game.
And there was even more
Have you played it? Have you
No,
played it
no,
yet?
I haven't played it
Dude,
yet.
the first like 2 minutes of the game are just like pure spectacle.
Yeah.
It's like it kind of reminds me of, in a way, it kind of reminds me of Azura's Wrath, but
Huh. Okay.
at least my initial impression is like this game is just pure eye candy. But then you actually start the combat, and it's like, oh, actually, the combat has quite a lot of depth to it as well. So like my early impressions of Black Myth were very, very positive. Um, but uh, but yeah, dude,
I did notice
but
that Black Myth was also in the news this week because more people came out to say that there's an exclusivity deal,
Eurogamer came out to say it.
and I think even
Um,
Xbox said something. They added on to their statement.
yeah,
Uh,
they added more to their statement.
so
The only thing I know for certain about Black Myth Wukong is that Microsoft believes that there is an exclusivity deal. All up, Microsoft, because Game Science told them there is an exclusivity deal.
mm,
So if Sony sources, for example, are telling other people like Jeff Grubb that there isn't a deal, that makes me wonder like where's the disconnection here? But I don't know. If whatever's going on with that game, I don't think it's necessarily nefarious. I think it's just the publisher, releasing their first game and maybe, you know, wanting to make sure they can
who's
finance it
publishing that?
properly. Game Science published it
Oh, I thought they
themselves.
so it'd be ID at Xbox game then, self-published title.
Yeah, it would be. Yeah, it'd be through Idea Xbox.
Mm.
So there might be some issues there with Idea Xbox, and obviously we heard like Enotria, the last song, as a Italian Souls like was initially coming to Xbox, and then they said it wasn't coming to Xbox, and then in June they said, oh, actually it is coming to Xbox again, and then the last few days they were calling out Microsoft directly. The CEO said Microsoft doesn't care about you and they don't care about us. Very, very angry.
Yeah, very
Um,
angry.
and they claimed that Microsoft hadn't replied to their emails for 2 months, um, trying to get their game build certified. They were pretty explicit in saying that the Series S wasn't to blame, which upset some of the fanboys who were celebrating that the Series S again was being blamed for something. But they were like, nope, nope, the build's fine on Series S. It's just we can't get it through certification. I heard recently that, and this isn't just on the gaming side, but it's also on the Windows side as well. But since Microsoft was hacked by Russian-backed hostile state actors back in spring, I I want to say it was in spring, but Microsoft got hacked and Outlook Exchange got hacked, and it led to some US military emails leaking out to foreign governments. It's very embarrassing for Microsoft. So what they've did since then, and Satya Nadella is on the record about this, they've implemented a lot of extra security layers to anything flowing through their network, and that includes like executables that are being uploaded to their systems, right? And I've heard that's created a bit of a backlog or extra work for everyone involved. So that might be part of it, but I don't know. But it seems like they're sorted it out now, and the game will come to Xbox, and then I don't know. I don't know if anyone was that hyped about Enotria, but it's more about the implications. Like it's like I said before, it's nobody cares until it's a game you care about. But we did get some good news on that front this week, though, Rand. Although before we get into more news, maybe you should go through some of these super
Yeah.
chats because I think there was quite a lot of them.
Let me get to some of these. We got B Martin with the 5. Jez, any info on what we'll see at the Tokyo Game Show? Perhaps something Final Fantasy related. So yeah,
Yeah.
Xbox announced their Tokyo Game Show stream, I guess, which will be airing live at 3 a.m. Pacific, 6 a.m. Eastern.
That's how time zones work, baby.
Yeah, and content will be shared from Xbox Game Studios, Activision Blizzard, and Bethesda, as well as select third-party partners. So September 26th, 6 a.m. Eastern. And yeah, like last year, or in 2022, we got Ni no Kuni and the Deathloop launch date, and then the Tokyo Game Show 2023. We had reveals for Ace Attorney trilogy, as well as 7 new Xbox Game Pass games. So, Jez, what can we expect from this year's Tokyo Game Show? Anything Final Fantasy related, as B. Martin says?
I don't have a huge amount of information about what to expect there. I think I was talking about before how I'd heard that there were going to be execs there, and that's all I'd heard at the time. I didn't realize it was going to be a full blown show they were putting on. So my thought process was okay, maybe they're going to be there with Square Enix to announce something Final Fantasy related. I do think that we are going to get something Final Fantasy related. I've heard that the whole slate's on the docket, including Final Fantasy 7 and 16 and Pixel remasters. So there was a lot of people were wondering has Sony locked down Final Fantasy 7 forever? I've heard that is not the case, and that Final Fantasy 7 will eventually come to Xbox. I don't know when it will, and I don't know if it will be in the first wave. What I would personally expect is that you'll probably be able to expect Pixel remasters and maybe Final Fantasy 16 initially. I think for Square Enix right now, Final Fantasy 16 is more relevant than Final Fantasy 7 Remake, and they can't really. There's something they need to work out when it comes to Final Fantasy 7 Remake, is because it's you got Remake and then it's into Rebirth, right?
Yeah.
You can't release them. You've got to. There's a bit more thought process to go in there with how you release those games on Xbox, I think, and maybe there is still some exclusivity stuff around Rebirth, especially because it's a bit more recent. So yeah, I do think 7 Remake will come to Xbox, but I think at least initially it's going to be Pixel remasters and 16. But hey, maybe we get lucky and we just get everything.
16 is about to come to PC.
Yeah, it is, and I've been playing the demo of that as well, and it's pretty fun so far. It's really strange though, because it's weird how they just went from they made the combat more tactical. Final Fantasy was historically turn-based, and then they made it a little bit more tactical, and they flirted with action. They flirted with action gameplay, and they made Kingdom Hearts, and then they did Final Fantasy Type 0, I think it was called, if I remember correctly, which was almost prototypical for a more action-oriented Final Fantasy. And also the Visions of Mana series were originally supposed to be action-oriented Final Fantasy games. Visions of Mana, of course, came to Xbox, and then the studio got shut down. Well, nearly shut down, I think. But anyway, and it's weird. It's Final Fantasy 16 is action-oriented, but then you've got Clair Obscur, which is a modern take on turn-based JRPG combat, and that looks fantastic. Sony had a video for Clair Obscur recently, which just looked really good. That was that weird turn-based game that was originally at the Xbox show, and then now Sony's marketing it. So I guess they're sort of trading marketing beats between the two companies. Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, I think you will start seeing Final Fantasy. But I do wonder what else is going to be there, because if Microsoft has enough for a whole show, part of it will be things we already know about, localized for Japan. So a lot of people who will be watching that show will be like, "Oh, we already knew about that." But you have to remember, this show is for the Japanese audience. So it'll be all in Japanese, and it'll be trailers for things that maybe they haven't seen before, because they couldn't watch any of the Xbox showcases in the local time zone. So it'd be more mainstream Japanese audience part of it. So I think there will be some stuff that we've already seen. They'll probably be showcasing, the Starfield expansion, for example, which, sounds like it's got a lot of changes in. And hopefully we get some other cool stuff. I would love to see Final Fantasy, a broader announcement for Final Fantasy on Xbox.
Okay.
But yeah, we'll see. We'll find out. I'm sure there'll be some Genshin Impact there as well. Because I don't know if you saw this, Rand, just as a side note.
I did see your article or your Was it your article? I'm
Yeah,
not
it was
sure.
my article. Yeah, Genshin Impact and Hoyoverse have a big marketing deal with Xbox, and they've taken over Times Square, and also they had some marketing beats in London as well for Genshin on Game Pass and stuff, which is
Reminds me when they did
better-
that for
better-
Persona 5.
it must have worked out for them, with Persona. Otherwise, I don't think they'd do it again. But it's good to see, a better late than never, eh?
That's true. I mean, hell, they announced that game for Switch and it's still not on Switch. So,
Yeah. What about?
although there
Do you
are
remember?
rumors that
Sorry, go on.
Some Switch 2 stuff might be happening this month. Christopher Dring and Andy Robinson have been hitting around the bush that there might be a Switch 2 announcement. Sony also supposedly, the leaker said that the Pro is going to be revealed next week, and that there's going to be a
Nice.
state of play the following week. And then even in Sony's 30th anniversary thing they talked about yesterday with some images, I guess they even teased the Pro in their hardware collage. People noticed.
Oh yeah, I did see that. Yeah, the
So
design
yeah,
with the three bands. Yeah,
so
interesting.
you might have a month of interesting reveals and things of that nature. So it should be a lot of fun. We have Walkerman with the 5. Banjo Bro here. Sorry, Rand. With the acclaim Astro Bot is getting, it only makes me think of what could be game that could be made with Xbox IP. Yeah, I saw your
Yeah,
tweet about
6,000 likes.
there's a lot. I think I saw
Upset some people.
Liam Robinson was like, well, if Activision didn't cancel Crash Bandicoot 5, it'd probably be coming out this year. On Game Pass or whatever. Which I was like, oh yeah, I mean, I guess that's possible. Crash Bandicoot 4. Psychonauts 2. You forgot about Psychonauts 2, Jez. That came out a couple years ago and was Game of the Year contender. Although I guess maybe Psychonauts 2 is a little bit more...
It was on everything though, wasn't it?
Yeah, but hey, I don't know if you've heard, but Xbox is everywhere these days.
And it wasn't really celebratory of Xbox IP. And that's the thing.
Sure.
You couldn't do that kind of game because it's Xbox could be like, oh yeah, we want to celebrate all our IP. But then we put it on multi-platform, so then we're not really celebrating the platform at all. We're just making a load of money. It's really funny, as Microsoft sort of doubles down on this platform doesn't matter thing. Sony releases a 94 Metacritic rated game which celebrates everything PlayStation is, including Crash Bandicoot, which is hilarious. It's Microsoft and Sony couldn't be further apart right now in strategy. Worlds apart in strategy. I suppose it just remains to be seen who wins in the end. I don't know.
It's funny.
Tyron Israel says my mic sounds too loud.
Your mic is too loud, huh?
Do you guys... Does everyone else think that? God, we suck at audio, man.
Well, I mean, because your mic's always changing all the time, so I'll lower you a bit.
Well, I don't know how to there's something you can do with a VST or something to make it so your audio is just sort of always the same volume. I don't know how to do it. We should probably get a producer or something, a podcast producer, and a studio. Like the pros have, like Tim Rogan. Joe Rogan.
I also just wanted to mention about review scores and stuff. It's funny because you always hear people and journalists and everybody say oh, Metacritic this and Metacritic that, right? Doesn't matter, or it matters, but it doesn't matter that much. People will be like, hey, just enjoy the game. But I tell you, when the game is really bad, people plaster that Metacritic all over the place. And when a game's really good, they plaster that Metacritic all over the place. And so, I don't want to hear from anybody anymore about how, Metacritic doesn't matter. Because all I've seen the past, day is just people screenshotting Astro Bot's Metacritic. And all I saw during Concord's reviews kind of came in slow, but I mean Concord has like a 62. I just find it funny, like people will say, "Oh, well, like bonuses shouldn't be tied to Metacritic, right?" But yet, when a game gets that type of a score, that's all the industry and everybody in it wants to talk about, and that's all they want to put on their profiles, and that's all they'll mention in their articles. Is
I will tell you, man. I will tell you. Like when I go to these shows and I speak to the execs and all this stuff, they always say you can predict. Generally speaking, you can predict how much money you're gonna make from the Metacritic score. Or how much engagement a game will make. That's why, like on the Game Pass app on PC, you can see the Metacritic score, because they know that people do care about that stuff, and for better or worse, right? But there are plenty of games I like as an individual that I will play even though it's got a low Metacritic score. I think I famously talked about how I thought Pokemon Sword and Shield was probably a 5 out of 10 if I was going to review it objectively. But I still put like 300 hours into it, purely fueled by unmitigated nostalgia. But yeah, I don't know. Metacritic's weird, man. The whole concept of reviewing stuff, because everything's really subjective. Someone's 9 out of 10 would be a 4 out of 10 for you. But like sports games, for example, nobody reviews sports games, really. Nobody really reviews sports games. No one talking about like, oh, the latest FIFA got this on Metacritic. No one talks about that stuff because people don't really play them for that sort of reason. They just want the updated rosters and stuff. I don't know.
And also, I also don't want to hear how people aren't swayed by review scores, because I've seen so many people who had no interest, and I first noticed this with Elden Ring, about like people who had no interest in Elden Ring being like, "Oh my god, I got a 96, I need to play this game now." And the same thing with Astro Bot. So the reviews do matter, and Metacritic does matter, because I've seen so many people talk about it in that regard, and people buy a game based on the score, even though they'll say they didn't or they won't, or that it doesn't matter and you should make up your own mind. You know what I mean?
I get you.
It's just maybe people want to be part of the group. They see everybody else talking about the review scores, so they want to get engagement, so then they talk about it and rinse and repeat, and that's what's going on, because like I said, everybody copycats everybody else. Like it's just kind of how it is on Twitter and social media in general, right? But yeah, people are how many people said like, I don't want to play Astro Bot, but as soon as it got a 94, people were like, all right, I'm buying it now. And it's like, you're swayed by it. I don't know. I just find that very illuminating, because that's all the journalists talked about. That's all a lot of people talked about. And then it also happens when a game is really shit as well. But it's
I'm like, I see Astro Bot scores, but I'm like, it's still not a game I'm particularly interested in.
I think you'd like it if you played it.
Would I?
Yeah.
Isn't it an action platformer? I've been playing Crash Bandicoot, actually. I've been playing Insane Trilogy on my Lenovo. But that's a bit of nostalgia for me. I don't really like action platformers that much.
Well, Walgerman's question here is what what could be the game that made with the Xbox IP, and everybody obviously goes right to Banjo, because everybody wants Banjo to come back. Not everybody, but
the real answer,
the Banjo Bros. The
real
real answer is
Storm.
probably
Heroes of the Storm.
I don't even know if there's a real answer. I don't even know. Like, Xbox has that IP, like Crash or Spyro, that they own now, and I don't know if that would work in a game that would help celebrate Xbox legacy. Like, I don't even know
Killer
if
Instinct did a pretty good
I
job,
don't know
I
even know
think.
if Banjo would be the one to do it. People just want Banjo to come back and we'll use any excuse to bring it up and being like, see, this did well, so Banjo would do well. Like, Paris or any of the Banjo Bros, Wagerman, who I'm saying this with love, obviously. Any chance they can get to like point, be like, Banjo, bring it back. See, Astro Bot's doing amazing, and Mario is also good. So bring back
I never
Banjo.
played Banjo. Was it really that good? Was it
I don't
really
know.
like?
I have no idea.
Did you never play it?
Oh no, I never played Banjo.
Maybe it is that good, and we're just ignorant, dude.
Maybe we are. Maybe
Maybe it's
we
the
are.
best game ever.
I mean, I did like Achievements idea a while back of like using Banjo and Kazooie as like an Astrobot-esque type thing of like they'll visit a
Other
world of
universe,
like, hey,
whatever.
Banjo and Kazooie visit the Gears of War universe, and Banjo's dressed up in Gears armor, and Kazooie's the Lancer or something. You know what I mean?
Kind of
And
like I suppose it's not dissimilar from Kingdom Hearts in a way, I suppose. Because in Kingdom Hearts they got all the different Disney worlds, right? Um, I don't know. I do. It is annoying because we've been talking about this idea of Xbox having a celebratory game of all its franchises, and now they own more franchises than ever. And you've even got the Blizzard stuff in there. And for whatever reason, they don't want to do it.
well, it's not. I don't
No,
even know if they don't want to do it. It's just that even if they did it, it would still take a long time to do it.
I think they just don't want to do it.
Well, one, who would even make it in? What Xbox studio would make a platformer that goes through all the Xbox legacy? They don't have a developer. I'm the only one that would be Double Fine, right? Because you look at all the other studios, it would be Double Fine or Toys for Bob, and Toys for Bob is independent, but like Double Fine is doing their own stuff, and we know Rare wants nothing to do with Banjo. So I think part of it is there's no internal studio that Xbox has that is good at those type of games where Team Asobi was, right? They did Astro Bot Rescue Mission for the VR, and people say it's the best PSVR game ever, and it was a great platformer. So there's already a group of people who know what they're doing. They did the demo for Astro Bot Rescue Mission or whatever it's called for the DualSense free with the PS5. A lot of people are like, that's one of the best PS5 games. So you have the pedigree there, and then they make this game. So when you look at Xbox Studios, it's like,
Are they an internal team?
yeah, they are.
Were they acquired?
Um,
I don't know much about them. I'm realizing right now.
I don't know I don't think they were acquired. I think they were within like Japan Studio,
Right.
and then
Okay.
they had they shut down a lot of Japan Studio except for Team Asobi because they
Right.
were the ones who did Astrobot. So
I think this is one of the things where Microsoft acquired so many studios that were pretty established already. Like Obsidian, they want to do their own thing. Rare wants to do their own thing. Like a lot of these studios, they just kind of want to do their own thing, and they don't feel beholden or even dare I say loyal to Xbox. They care more about their team, their IP, and the stuff they want to make. So like when we sit here and say like, oh, we want them to do this, we want to do that from a platform perspective, the studios are a very different opinion on this. They'd rather just do their own thing, which is fair enough. They're the ones doing the creating at the end of the day. But I think that leaves you with this conflict that, what about us? And obviously when you go to work for Nintendo, you kind of know you're going to be working on Nintendo IP and all this kind of stuff. So I don't know. Xbox has a very different culture, I think, and I think sometimes like we want Xbox to be more Nintendo-like or PlayStation-like, and it's just not the case. And I don't think it ever will be the case, frankly.
well,
But I do think like there has been you know, that there are some examples of. I think there are a few games which would lend themselves well to adapting some Xbox IP. Like for example, in Overwatch, the way they're implementing skins in Overwatch is it's the existing characters sort of cosplaying as those video game characters or whatever. I've said that like no reason why they couldn't put a Master Chief skin in there for Soldier 76, for example, or something like that. I don't know why they couldn't do some of that and celebrate it. Um, or like, I don't know. I always talk about Heroes of the Storm. You could just add all the characters from all the IP into that and revive that for console. Killer Instinct did a decent job of it, but I think if you are going to do Killer Instinct 2, you've lost the whole fighting game community to PlayStation, so that kind of needs to be there, which defeats the whole point of um sort of making a Xbox celebratory game. Maybe it just doesn't work for Xbox, man. I don't know.
Mm.
It's an interesting discussion though.
Jabber says, Jez, please, we need more Mega Man Battle Network Legacy Collection on Xbox. Keep pushing for more Capcom. Yeah, so that was.
Believe me, I am pushing.
That was the other bit of news this week. Was that
got that right, didn't I?
What?
I got that right, didn't I?
Did you?
Yeah, I said that. Did you miss that? Jesus Christ!
What did I didn't miss anything, Jez. I never miss anything.
Yeah, okay. I said it's the Clobrill. They're working on it, and lo and behold, a couple of weeks later, we have a solution.
So let the people know what happened then.
So yeah, suppose it was around E3 time. Capcom announced Fighting Game Collection 2 and also Marvel vs. Capcom Arcade Classics. I think it's
as
called
well as
something like that.
like he mentions Mega Man Battle Network games, Skip 2.
Yeah, there's also the Ace Attorney trilogy, I think.
No, I think
and
that
also
came.
Oh, did it?
I think so.
I think there is one that is missing from Xbox, but the one I was upset about personally was Monster Hunter Stories, because Monster Hunter Stories 1 is on Android, for God's sake, but it's buggy and broken and it doesn't work properly. So I was hoping, if they're porting it, I would love if they brought that to Xbox. It'd be the perfect game for xCloud, turn-based, and it's a lot of fun. And Monster Hunter Stories 2 was a Nintendo Switch exclusive, which always bugged me. And then Capcom was out here saying, "Oh yeah, we're bringing it to everything except Xbox. It's exclusively not on Xbox." So obviously people are upset, especially given the fact that Microsoft, basically funded and published Kunitsugami, a very, very interesting game, but also aggressively niche. I think no one would deny my suggestion over that. But then we got into this situation where all these games seem to be just arbitrarily skipping Xbox. So I started doing inquiries. I was told that it was related to developer pipeline issues. As in Capcom hasn't made next gen versions of these ports. They're on PS4, Nintendo Switch, and they wanted to do an Xbox One version. But there was something to do with all that stuff, which meant that they would have had to have made a Series S and X version, I think. For some reason, they couldn't do the port to Series S and X. It had to be to Xbox One or something like that. Because Microsoft's gradually moving away from the ERA system, it's called, which is Xbox, the old Xbox system. I don't know. It gets complicated. I don't fully understand it. But Capcom did come out and they were like, "Yeah, we've worked through the technical issues with our partners." Because people clowned on me for saying it was technical in nature. A lot of fanboys wanted to suggest that they'd skipped Xbox because they just hate Xbox and it wouldn't sell. People love that narrative that people on Xbox don't buy games, which is why devs skip the platform, even though the vast majority of devs don't skip the platform. But then they came out and said it was technical in nature, which is what I reported originally. And lo and behold, now we are getting Capcom, Marvel vs. Capcom. We're also getting the fighting game stuff. But there's still no sign of Monster Hunter Stories or the Mega Man stuff. But I am pushing for all that stuff, and I think Microsoft is working towards that as well. I think there's just might be a little bit more work involved with some of that stuff. But
Yeah.
let's see what happens.
I think this is also a good example of make your voices heard.
Yeah, the community had a big role to play.
Because if nobody said anything, then Capcom and Microsoft would have just been like, all right, well, whatever, no skin off our back, right? But I think it's because
I think that's you're completely right there.
People complained about it, and Microsoft was like, yeah, maybe we should do something with this, and Capcom's like, we still want to put it on here. It's not like we don't want to. It's just that for whatever reason, we can't. We need your help to be able to do this, and they decide to do it. It's
so it was something on Microsoft's end about the whole Xbox One Series X situation, which is why the game is coming to Xbox One and not Series S and X. It's technical in nature. I don't really get it, but it's also not coming to PS5. It's coming to PS4.
Yeah,
don't know why.
Is this coming to Switch, PS4, PC?
Yeah,
it was just
it's coming to every platform via last gen. Weirdly, I don't know why. I don't know exactly what is the reason for that. But there was an issue on Xbox's side, which meant that they couldn't do that for Xbox. But now they can. So because Microsoft fixed it or whatever.
Yeah, and the only reason they fixed it is because people complained.
We stood up.
And I was like, all right. People wrote articles, and they're like, we need to fix this stuff. And they fixed
Everyone can pat themselves on the back.
Unfortunately, for those of us that complained about Microsoft's multi-platform strategy, that didn't change much.
Didn't work.
So,
No, it didn't.
Yeah. I do wonder what would have happened if like Sea of Thieves, when it went to PlayStation, if it didn't do well, like if it bombed and nobody cared, would have been like, all right, well, I guess nobody cares about this stuff.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Because
yeah,
I don't know. I get a few DMs from people being like, what should I do about this? What should I do about that? And I'm just like, well, one, just play where you want to play. If Xbox is where you want to play there. If it's PlayStation, or play wherever you want to, essentially. But a couple people asked me, what do I do to make my voice heard for Microsoft to get them to know that I don't agree with the strategy? And I said to them, the only things Microsoft's looking at this point in time are data points. So if you really, truly want to fight this, what's going on and being like, this is how I feel, probably the way to get Microsoft's direct attention is to cancel Game Pass and then not play an Xbox. Because what they're looking at is subscriber numbers, and they're looking at monthly active users. And I think those are
going down, according to Phil.
Yeah, so like they're looking at those metrics. So, bitching on Twitter, which is weird because in one breath I'll say bitching on Twitter help get the Capcom games on Xbox. But then in the other breath I'm going to say bitching on Twitter isn't going to change Microsoft's decisions about their multi-platform strategy, right?
I think what this boiled down to was it really broke the narrative that Xbox was pro game preservation. And I think that was a big part of them changing tack on this, because it was like, well, if you guys really do care about game preservation, you're not doing a lot to help preserve this game here.
Yes.
But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, but for those of you who want to, do the other thing, it's like, yeah, what you're gonna have to do is not play in the platform anymore. The monthly active users go down. They're watching that stuff like a hawk, and if there really is a surge of people leaving the platform, they'll notice it, and maybe things might change. Maybe they won't, but they aren't taking, yelling on Twitter at this point in time. It didn't do anything when the rumors were out there. I mean, most of the people didn't even believe it. There was a lot of people that were like, it ain't true. What do these insiders know? A bunch of liars, right? And then it happened, and it was like, well, it's just 4 games. And it's like, well, no, it's not going to be just 4. And then
Now listen to the community when it's not going to cost them money, basically.
yeah, so it's like
if when it comes to like not putting Sea of Thieves on PlayStation, that's going to cost them money.
yeah.
You know.
So if you
But,
want to
like,
get Microsoft's attention
getting
now, it's basically like you need to just stop playing on the
cost them money.
platform and cost them money. That's it. No amount of people bitching on Twitter is going to change anything anymore. Now it's about you need to affect their bottom line. You know, where like something small like the Capcom stuff, you might get, you know, people bitching and be like, all right, we need to do something about it. But something like this big, you ain't going to change it. You need to move platforms so you're not part of that anymore. I mean, that's just the truth.
Or you could just like not give a shit because
You could, I mean, yeah, you could not give a shit, but I'm saying if you still care, because there are people that do, it's like, well, take all your
Sure as hell, man.
purchases that you know you used to purchase all your games on Xbox and play there, move all those purchases to PC and Steam. You know,
You're saying put up or shut up, basically.
I'm saying like that's Microsoft is looking at different data metrics at this point for their
I do
for their
find it
decisions.
funny though.
So
I do find it funny, like in World of Warcraft, because Warcraft has chat channels, right? And yesterday there was a big argument in trade about the quality of this expansion, and like there was a couple of people saying, "Oh, this game sucks. It's been dead for years. I don't know why I still play it." And like people just like, dude, you're still playing it. So as far as Blizzard knows, you're still enjoying the game, you know. And like a lot of people bitch about WoW, but they don't quit. And if you don't quit, then they're not going to change anything, you know. But yeah, I don't know. I think at the end of the day, like the stuff with the multiplats on Xbox is just no one's quit because of that.
I wouldn't say that.
I would say that.
I wouldn't say that.
Not,
No one
not,
is.
not in significant amount numbers to affect anything. No one's quit Xbox. It's just the reality of it.
Right. We have a super chat here from Jeff for $10. Love the Xbox and all that, but if my Eagles lose to the Packers tonight, it will be the Series S's fault. It's always the Series S's fault, man. It'll be the Series S's fault if my Bears lose to the Titans on Sunday. Artemis with the 5 says, Space Marine sounds amazing. There is no way they have this game running on the Series S. But indeed they do, I believe. Indeed they do.
I mean, they do have it running on Series S. And it runs all right from what I can tell.
RDX Son of Fett with the $6.99
sorry, go on.
and a $13.99. Remember the Phil quote. Every time we ship a game on PlayStation, Sony captures 30% of the revenue that we do on their platform. And then this quote.
And then uses it.
They use that money among other revenue that they have to do things to reduce Xbox's survival on the market. Pepperidge Farm remembers. Yeah, we talked about that in regards to, I think, Black Myth Wukong. And, like, we talked about that last week. It was just like, yeah, I mean, you say about slimy platform things, but you're still putting your games on their platform, so you're still giving Sony money, and Sony can use that money any way they want. So
it's kind of like what you were saying. It's like Sony's not gonna change anything if you keep giving them money. It's like people won't stop. Xbox won't change anything if you keep giving them money. Same kind of thing. Right?
Juan from 5 says, those chunky dudes from 40K look like the chunky knights from Diablo. Rand, how's the performance on console? I think I'll buy it this weekend. On the Series X, you can run it in quality mode or speed. I don't know why they call performance mode speed, but I'm running it on speed, and performance mode's pretty damn good. I really haven't noticed too many dips from 60. But yeah, I think the game's great. So it's one of those things where it's in early access now, Jez, where you have to either spend $100 or $120 to play it early. And I don't know if you saw, but apparently on Steam it's up to 134,000 concurrent users right now.
What, Space Marine?
Yeah, and that's just for the $100 and $120 version, because it's not officially launched yet until next week.
Well, that's why you're gonna get more of them early access editions, man.
Yeah, that's why if Space Marine can do that, because I didn't think Space Marine was gonna pull those numbers. That's pretty damn good numbers. I mean, hell, like
from early access.
Xbox released Age of Mythology, which we didn't talk about because I don't play RTS games, and I think that reviewed well. It was like an 84 on Metacritic, and I think it was doing pretty well on Steam. I think it was like the 5th best selling game on Steam and had like 20,000 concurrent users, so it seemed like it was doing good.
Yeah, I've heard it's doing well for
And
them.
here's
There's
Space
a lot
Marine.
of Game Pass people as well on it.
Space Marine doing incredibly well in its early access. So
it's kind of funny. Like we totally overlooked Age of Mythology, but it's done pretty well. Considering it's a classic franchise and a niche genre. I really like the Microsoft sort of reviving the RTS genre and like really pushing for it. It kind of bodes well for StarCraft fans out there. We'll see what happens.
Mathis Curl with the 5. Greetings from Brazil. Can we have the Xbox 2 crew on Blue Sky? We are having some problems with X lately. Yeah, so I've heard.
Yeah. So X is banned in Brazil over legal issues, but I'm not on Blue Sky, but I am on Threads. And Threads is connected to Blue Sky through the Fediverse, which is like an open platform social media thing. So like where like if you're on like Mastodon, Blue Sky, or Threads, you can see it's got like a shared algorithm. Quite interesting how that works actually. So if you search for Jez Corden Threads, I should still come up on Blue Sky, I think, apparently. You might have to enable it on the settings or something on your end, but yeah, I probably won't go on Blue Sky. I'm quite enjoying Threads though.
And I don't really use social media, so.
Nope. But you are on the Discord, discord.gg/XB2. So if you are in Brazil and you want to stay connected with the show, we do post updates and stuff on the Discord.
And there's plenty of awesome people that talk daily on the Discord. You'll find a lot of interesting conversations and game with people and stuff. So it's a good place to be.
Occasional heated discussions.
Heated discussions, indeed.
We have an emo thread for that, though.
Do we?
We do, yeah. The emo threads for people who are struggling with the 5 stages of grief over Xbox. But yeah, there's a lot of fun discussion there. We just started Xbox 2. The official Xbox 2 Xbox Club started today, by the way. And I don't know if I even told you about this.
No, you didn't. You never
told
me about anything.
I never told you about anything. But they started an Xbox Club for Xbox 2 for people who want to hang out and set up games and do co-op and stuff like that. The club is just called the XB2, XB number 2, same as the Diablo clan. So if you want to join there, you can as well. And I'll put that on Discord so people can find it later.
Let's see.
Blue Sky is not part of the Fediverse. Oh, okay, my bad. Well, sorry about that.
We got James Wiseau with the 1999. Happy Friday, homies. Rip Concord. Hope Firewalk is okay. But hello, Astro Bot and Space Marine. Yeah, there's another game I kind of was interested in. Was Test Drive Unlimited Solar Crown.
What is that?
Well, did you ever play the Test Drive games back in the day?
No.
So basically,
never heard of them.
Basically, it was Forza Horizon before Forza Horizon.
Oh, right.
Big open world, people in it, right? And, I'm always down for a good racing game. Arcade style, that is. I don't care for the sim stuff. But, man, apparently this game had, all the extra additions with early access, but I guess not a lot of people could play it early access because the servers have been down ever since it came out in so people paid like $100 to play it early, but haven't been able to play it early because it ain't working.
Oh, that's like that's a potential big problem by having early access on a live service, I suppose.
Yeah.
You pay for early access and then it doesn't work. What do you do?
But apparently the game's really not that. I mean, I saw a few reviews on PC. It was like a 65. And they're like, yeah, it tries to be Forza Horizon, but it can't.
You know what game I was kind of interested in playing recently?
What?
Just came to Game Pass this week. But weirdly, Microsoft didn't mention it. Like Microsoft does those Game Pass drops.
Mm-hmm.
with the graphic. For some reason, they never mention this game, and it's weird because I think it's the best game they added this week. It's called Space Trucker, I think it's called.
Space Trucker. Yeah, I did see that announcement.
And it's like it's basically Euro Trucker in space, and you you're transporting cargo. It's a cargo sim in space, and you have to deal with like space pirates and all that kind of shit. I think it looks quite therapeutic.
Speaking of space, let's celebrate the 1 year anniversary of Starfield, shall we?
Oh, is that now?
That's today. Yeah. 1 year anniversary of Starfield. They came out today and talked a little bit about it on Twitter. They said, we have much more coming, beginning with our first story expansion, Shattered Space, releasing on September 30th. Here's a bit of what you can expect when Shattered Space launches. Over 50 new locations to discover and explore across Vurunkai. New grenades to craft that stem from organic material you gather, and it's gross. Formidable new enemies. Be on your guard for redeemed and vortex horrors. And you haven't seen the last of Zealots, Spacers, or the Crimson Fleet. As you explore the planet, be on the lookout for those taking advantage of the situation. So, yeah, I mean, it comes out the 30th, but they put a little thing out today. And, man, Starfield's one of those games that had an interesting life cycle so far, because it was really involved in a lot of clickbait, I would say.
I think it is wild. You could call it Starfield derangement syndrome, the way some people reacted to that game.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I'm quite confused about it. There was a mountain of clickbait about it.
Oh yeah, there definitely was. And even today, even with this announcement, I saw a website, Insider Gaming. They said 1 year later, will Shattered Space save Starfield? Which is kind of, it's like, really? Come on now.
Ugh. But the game has made a huge amount of money, and it's done pretty well. It's not quite Skyrim level, but it's hardly as if it's an unsuccessful game. It's so weird how people will sort of clickbait all this shit.
Yeah, and I look back on it, and I put 100 hours in to that game for review for over 2 weeks, because we had it like 2 weeks before, and I wasn't even expecting to get it. And like I've told you, I'm not the biggest Bethesda Game Studios fan. Like, I haven't played a Fallout since the third one. So it had been a while since I played Skyrim. So I was like, okay, well, I don't really care about the exploration aspect. I kind of just in this for a good story, decent combat, and it exceeded all my expectations. Like, I was, and you could attest to this because I was giving you my thoughts as I was playing through it about how much I enjoyed the campaign and the side quests and the faction stuff. And I just ignored all the stuff I knew I wasn't going to like, which is this, I think some of the stuff that other people do like, building an outpost and exploring all these places. I didn't care about any of that shit. It's like, for me, it was like, this is the game. And
for you, it was like, I'm too cool for that stuff.
No, I just don't care. I just don't care.
I'm too cool for that. I'm Randall 419. I only play highbrow trending games.
No, I'm just not interested. I'm just not interested in exploring worlds and building outposts and stuff. I just don't care about that. Give me a story. Give me characters. Give me dialogue. Give me high stakes. Give me morality choices. That's what I'm in it for. And I'm a big fan of science fiction. And with the alternate reality stuff that they were going on, and everything with the Spaceborne, like, yeah, I mean, I love Starfield.
I really loved being a space asshole in that game. I kind of like.
I sided against the Crimson Fleet, by the way.
Yeah.
They deserved it, Jez.
But dude, but this is what I'm talking about with all this stuff. My only complaint really about that game is that you couldn't be enough of an asshole. Yeah, and I hated all the companions. Like, I genuinely despise the companions. Like, I honestly, I think the companions in that game are probably the worst part about it. I wanted to push Cora, is her name, that little kid. I wanted to push her out of the airlock. So annoying. So I just sort of got rid of all the companions. I think the more freedom to be a space pirate, I think, was my probably central criticism of it. Because while you could join the Crimson Fleet, it kind of negatively impacted the game because it locked you out of a lot of content, you know, and outposts and stuff like that. Because and suddenly everything half of the game was friendly towards you. Corey No Life says Jez is just a monster. Yeah, I am. When I play Bethesda games, I want to be a monster, man. Like, I even thought Fallout 4 was just like, man, I can't be enough of a monster in this game. After playing with New Vegas, the shit you could get away with in that. How much of an asshole you could be in New Vegas. But yeah, I still loved it overall. Really great game. I wish it was a bit more gory as well. I complained about that, but Starfield derangement syndrome is real, and I am going to come back for the expansion. I need to get World of Warcraft out my system before then, but we'll see.
Mm. Yeah,
Andy
so
K says, Jez, grab Betty Hauser. She's the companion who doesn't mind you being bad. That's cool. Like, I was using Vasco a lot because Vasco doesn't give a shit if you're bad either. But Vasco's huge. He
yeah.
blocks doorways. He can't stealth. And he's just like, man, Vasco, dude, I'm trying to stealth
Yeah, but
here.
he's cool though. Vasco's cool.
He is cool, but it's just, it didn't fit in my playstyle. I don't know. But it sounds like the way they talk about it, and they talked about it in that post, they want to support this game for a long time. They want to give it a long tail. And I think they realize there's a lot of things missing from the space fantasy that they didn't land with Starfield. Even though, like, it's a really big game, like, there are sort of there's a lot of it, there's a lot of aspects of it that are sort of underbaked. Like, even the stuff that you don't like, for example, the base building. They're like there's not a lot of stuff you can do with the base building mechanic. There's not a lot of options for base building. Like, everyone's bases basically look the same. Whereas, like, Fallout 4, there was a ton of customization you could do. And obviously they added a ton more in post-launch patches. But even from the outset, like, everyone had very, very different bases in that game. The shipbuilding mechanic was cool, though. But again, the ship gameplay again was a little bit underbaked, I would argue. Um, so I do hope they stick with the game. I don't think it needs saving, but at the same time, there's a lot of stuff there that I understand why some people were really disappointed with it. Because I don't think they landed the fantasy that well. I think Cyberpunk actually suffered from some of these same issues. Because I always talk about how, like, I think my Cyberpunk experience was a lot different from a lot of other people.
Like mine.
Because yeah, but because I played as a netrunner. I mean, I'm talking about at launch here. I played as a netrunner, right? Which I think was a very polished playstyle at launch. But some of the other playstyles were just not polished at all. So, like, if you wanted to have a fantasy of being, like, I don't know, Cyborg Ninja, for example, that was one of the disappointments with it because they removed wall running from the game. It was like something they wanted to put in there. They wanted to have wall running, and so you could have that Cyborg Ninja fantasy. But a lot of the bladed weapons weren't that good, and it underbaked, I suppose. But they did fix it over time, and they added a lot more features for melee. Just an example. So, yeah, I hope they stick with Starfield. Let's see how it goes, man. Let's
Yeah.
see how it goes.
We have Panda Man with the 5. Can whatever remake Warcraft 1 can someone remake Warcraft 1 and 2? Age of Mythology is amazing. Bought Cyberpunk and I'm playing Age of Mythology instead. Thanks Game Pass for the variety of games.
Yeah, if they are, they definitely should remake Warcraft 1 and 2. They're like old school as you can get. I think they would work really well with Microsoft's efforts on that front. But at the same time, it might be a be careful what you wish for scenario because the Warcraft 3 remake was shockingly bad. Again, underbaked. But if they did it right, I think that's why a lot of people were disappointed when Vicarious Visions was sort of merged into Blizzard. Because Vicarious Visions were doing some really great stuff, remastering. Like didn't they do the Insane trilogy as well? I think, and then they did Diablo 2.
Well, then they did the Tony Hawk game, right? The Tony Hawk remake.
Yeah. But didn't they also do Diablo 2 Resurrected? I think,
Oh, I don't
which
know.
was really good. But I don't know.
Well,
There's a lot of stuff in Blizzard's Microsoft's back catalog now that could have a remake treatment.
Yeah, well, speaking of Tony Hawk, you saw that like they changed some of their imagery on their social media accounts for like the 25th anniversary or whatever. And I had always heard that was one of the franchises Microsoft wanted to bring back, like ASAP, was like Tony Hawk franchise. I mean, but like you said, Vicarious Visions got pulled into Blizzard, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know what happens.
I think it's called Blizzard Albany now, I think, or something.
Yeah, I don't know what happens with that.
I can't remember exactly with that.
There's also the ratings board in Australia has like 2 Transformers games up for ratings. Did you see the stories about that too?
I did see the stories. I have no idea what they are.
Apparently, like one of them is an old game and one of them's kind of touched up. I don't know. I mean, you have like Transformers: Rise of the Dark Spark. You have
Fall of Cybertron, right?
Fall of Cybertron. War of Cybertron. They never got an Xbox One port. It was just a 360 back compat. There's like Transformers Devastation, I think, which was done by the people who did
Platinum.
Bayonetta. I'm forgetting the name.
That was Platinum, yeah. Platinum.
So I mean, there's some Transformers
That's
games.
Scalebound Bros, man.
Yeah, the Scalebound Bros. So I wonder if because we finally started to see some ABK games at Game Pass, right? With Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3. What was that in July? And then last month we had Crash. So I wonder if there's anything planned for this month or how slow they're gonna take it, like month by month. I mean, because we know we get the new Call of Duty in October. So I don't know. I mean, that Transformers would be cool. I mean, like you mentioned earlier about game preservation. I mean, now you own that stuff, and they are part of your history. I mean, if Hasbro's willing to do the licenses again, I mean, those would be good additions.
They even said they would.
They said they would. But I mean, what do you expect them to say? Nah, we're not. Nah. Hey Hasbro, you gonna do Transformer stuff? Nah.
No, but they sounded eager though.
Sure,
it was different.
Yeah,
and they were specific because a lot of those Transformers games weren't well received. But I believe Fall of Cybertron,
War of Cybertron, and Fall of Cybertron were
well received.
They were good games. They were pretty good games. I liked them a lot. Rise of the Dark Spark was awful. I didn't play Devastation, so I'm not sure about that one. But yeah, man, that 360 was just putting out some great games, man. 360 was we got Warhammer, Transformer. 360, what a gen that was, I tell you.
It was all right.
Pretty good gen. So we'll see what happens with that, right?
One thing I'm kind of like cognizant of the fact, because like we've seen Warhammer 40k and Warhammer in generals had some pretty shockingly bad games licensed out to it.
Sure.
But we're kind of starting to see it hit its stride now, and there seems to be a degree of franchise quality control going over the brand now. But I feel like the same cannot be said for Transformers, which I feel is one of the most abused and wasted franchises in history, probably.
Yeah.
And it's a shame because I love Transformers.
Funny because we got a super chat about this as well from Webb. Who says, "Hey fellas, do you know anything about these 2 Transformers games Microsoft has submitted to Australian's rating board? 2 games, both with an original and modified version. War for Cybertron and Fall for Cybertron." It's kind of funny. Like we were talking about this, and there was a super chat about it. But yeah,
that's why we need to catch up on the super chats.
Well, we're just having the conversation about it. But You know, we answered. I mean, yeah, it's, I would like to see those games come into back compat. I wouldn't play them again because, well, maybe I would play Fall of Cybertron. I probably would replay War and Fall if they came, but that's it. And it's been quite a long time since I've played either of those games, so they would sort of be new to me, like at least because it's been a long time. But all the other ones, I'd be interested in new games, like if we're actually going to get a Transformers.
Well, maybe this is testing the water. If it's like nobody cares about it, then they ain't gonna do it. But this is one of the games like you could, bring back if you were so inclined to make more licensed games. And clearly they're interested in it because that's why we've got Blade and Indiana Jones. Transformers would be an obvious shoe-in, I think, to bring back. So yeah, I'd love to see that happen personally.
Achievement with the 2 says Astro Bot is the same playtime as Hellblade 2. Yeah, I mean, I've seen full playthroughs on YouTube of both. I've seen Hellblade 2 playthroughs be as short as 5.5 hours, but I think that's a lot to do with like rushing through it. And Astro at like 6 or 7. But people say if you're trying to go for everything, it's maybe like 15. Like all the secrets, because there's like 300 bots to save and all that sort of stuff. So that's what I was mentioning earlier about the equivalency between price and time, about how people will complain when games are too short, or the people feel good about paying for something when they know they might get 40 hours out of it instead of, say, 10. There should be studies done for that. About like why.
It probably has been. We
probably just don't know anything about them, but
market psychology and consumer stuff is heavily studied.
Alvin with the 5 says, many in the gaming media trying to use Astro Bot as a model to shoot for, but that game is a unicorn. Just like Baldur's Gate 3. Devs need to do their own thing.
I don't think Baldur's Gate is a unicorn. Owlcat's doing some great CRPGs at the moment. But, yeah, I don't know. The game industry's in a weird place.
Well, I think it's also because it comes on the back of Concord dying spectacularly as an indictment on live service, and a lot of people's frustrations with live service in the industry or on social media. And then here comes this cute platforming game that, really doesn't take itself seriously and seems to be a throwback to a time when people would say, oh, video games were pure, right? No microtransactions.
And commentators were young and they're remembering what life used to be like, and they're associating those kind of games. The whole Nintendo thing.
Right, but I mean, you get my point. It was like the dichotomy of Sony's strategy of here's live service, here's this, niche platformer, and here it is. This one is thriving, but then, like, what people consider the current state of the industry is all live service, live service, live service. We've seen Warner Brothers talk about, even though Hogwarts 2 or Hogwarts Legacy 2 is a priority for them, they still are like 10 knuckles down on doing more live service games, even though
dude, they're not mutually exclusive. Maybe the next Harry Potter game is a live service.
Could you imagine that? Woo, man.
Maybe it's just like Suicide Squad.
But I mean, we just saw Suicide Squad fail, and we've seen Warner Brothers talk about that. We've talked about Ubisoft's stock price take a 10-year nosedive.
Mm-hmm.
Star Wars and stuff. So I don't know. It's weird because Concord, man, what an epic fail that game is. And I wonder if that's going to change anyone's approach to thinking about live service in the future, or investing in live service, or if that's just going to be like, that's them. They just didn't do it right. We're going to continue to follow our path. because holy shit, like when you think about AAA games or gaming in general, for a game to have the pedigree that they have and to just be jettisoned after 2 weeks, like, hey, the game's out, and then, grand opening, grand closing, 2 weeks later, now the game's shut down. And I guess
wild, man.
I guess
people were asking if it was unprecedented. I can't think of an example.
I mean, the Rumbleverse shut down after 6 months, but that was free to play. Calling 2, I think, shut down after 5 days, but I think that was also, nobody, Calling 2, nobody cared about that.
Indie as hell,
even
man.
something like disaster, like Crossfire X. Remember when Xbox was doing Crossfire X with, like Remedy was doing this single player, and I forget who developed that game. Do you remember? You know what I'm talking about? That Crossfire X game?
I remember the game, but
Smilegate. It was Smilegate.
Okay.
Even that game lasted 15 months. Right? And
it's strange because it's really popular in Korea.
And one of the things that came to my mind when all this happened, when the game came out, and everybody in the world knew the game was going to be a gigantic failure based on the beta numbers. Like, nobody cared about this game. Nobody even wanted to play it for free. And you can write a book about the reasons why, whether it was the character designs, which, I'll be honest, character designs were awful. There wasn't a cool-looking thing in all the characters. Like, they looked terrible. I mean, I don't know about the gameplay because I didn't play it, but I think pricing it at $40 was a mistake. And in a market saturated by free-to-play competitors. But one of the things that always stuck out to me was you said multiple times that you didn't think Sony would have the patience to take a failure and turn it into a success. You always said that, like, if Sony was presented with the live service and a game that came out that reviewed poorly and didn't get a lot of traction, that you didn't think they had the wherewithal to actually stick by that and turn that, failure into a success story, like, Sea of Thieves or what have you. So the first thing I thought of when 2 weeks after the game came out that Sony's announcing that they're closing the game, I was like, holy shit, Jez was right. Sony was like, enough of this shit. We're getting rid of this. We're getting rid of this before more reviews hit Metacritic and that thing drops to 62 or whatever. We don't want the stink of this game affecting our next release, Astro Bot. And I've seen people talk about the how Sony didn't believe in this game. I think that's just a bunch of cope. Like, they literally spent 8 years on this game. A rumored 9-digit budget, like $200 million budget, right? It has an episode in the upcoming Prime Video secret level TV show. And Sony bought the studio. Like, I don't know. What says you believe in something more than we're going to buy you? Because they certainly weren't buying them for anything else in the other game that they were making. So Sony must have thought at the time, oh man, this is going to do great. They bought that game. They bought the developer for that game. And they shut it down within 2 weeks. So I don't want to hear this thing about how Sony didn't believe in it. Clearly they believed in it. There's a lot of anecdotal evidence, I guess, or exculpatory evidence that suggests that Sony really believed in it. It's just, I don't know, did the market just, I don't know, like the game just, when they revealed it, nobody cared and they priced it when everything should be free and then they didn't want to. Like, it's just a lesson to be learned. I don't know. It's kind of ridiculous that in 1 week we have the closure of this game, but then the release of a highly acclaimed platformer that has like a different budget and a different goal. Because I mean, like Concord's whole like goal is like, we're gonna make millions upon millions of dollars, right? We're gonna make all this money, and they make anything. Jez, think about it. They spent all that money. They spent all that money on this game, and they're not going to make a
Uh,
single dime because they had to refund everybody who
no.
bought it. So they literally make nothing.
It's
And
gonna show up very interestingly in Sony's financials, I think.
but then you got to think.
Because they'll have to do a write down on that
Well, so I guess
because
it
they
depends
refunded
on what
everyone.
they do. I guess you have two options here. One, you just completely cut bait and it's dead. Or
Which
two,
I
you
think
bring it
what's gonna
back
happen.
like Multiversus a year later, maybe with a different name. I think the Concord name is probably too damaged at this point, so maybe you call it Free Gunners.
Free
And you
Gunners.
come back free to play.
Where'd you get that name from?
Because that's what they're called. They're called the Free Gunners.
All right.
So you change the name, you come back free to play a year later or something like that. Maybe you change some of the graphical design. Maybe you change some of the.
Give it some sex appeal.
I don't know. Maybe you change some of the things and maybe you try again. I'm not sure which one you would go for.
Add waifus.
Which one do you
Boom.
think? Which one do you
Job
think
done.
they're gonna do? Do you think they're just completely writing it off? The game's dead and buried. Firewatch is gonna be moving on to something else, or are they gonna bring this back 9, 10, 11, 12 months from now as a free-to-play version with a new name to try to get something out of it? I guess.
It's really hard to say. I want to believe that they'll do something with it because you have to remember Overwatch itself was born from the remnants of a failed game.
Yeah, Titan.
Overwatch was born from Project Titan, which was going to be a sci-fi MMO, and Blizzard themselves said we couldn't find the fun, and they took basically all the assets from that and turned it into Overwatch, which basically was a huge success story. And even though everyone claims they have Overwatch, it still continues to be a success story for Blizzard. Even though it's probably not where Microsoft wants it to be in terms of, whatever. But so I want to believe that there is some universe where Sony sticks with this, figures out how they can salvage it, because I think the character designs are a big problem. Honestly, they are not appealing at all. And if you're making a character game, yeah, the characters have to be appealing, man. Like you've got games like, I don't know, you only get one chance to make a first impression, and if the heroes that you put in the game are boring or generic, um, more so than ever, people ain't gonna be interested, you know. So I think that they really need to rethink some of those designs, but obviously the pricing model needs to be completely rethought. It needs to be free to play. You need to have a live service built and ready to go, um, to avoid the same mistakes that Halo Infinite had, where there was just a big ass drought after the game launched. Um, so when you consider all that stuff, quite a big hill to climb. And I want to believe that they can do it for the sake of the studio and the devs that worked really hard on it. But I think deep down, I think we both know that Concord probably ain't coming back.
Yeah,
But I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
I
We'll
know
see.
a lot of people like to say that this is the industry and consumers turning against live service. Do you think that's true?
No.
No.
I think it's the Twitter bubble, maybe. But, everyone I know plays live service games.
Yeah.
Literally everyone I know, except for Rand.
I'm a
So
unicorn, baby.
You're a unicorn, Rand. A
I mean,
unicorn
you're the
with
ultimate.
long
Like, look at
COVID.
you. You play World of Warcraft and spend a whole bunch of money on your live service stuff. You're playing Diablo. You're basically number one.
I spent $17 on a toy in World of Warcraft,
Yep.
which turns me into a Murloc
When
for
people
20
talk
minutes.
about like the gamers that they hate because they just play live service
I've
games
ruined
and
the
spend
industry.
that's you.
It's me.
It's
It's
you.
literally me. Yeah. But that's what I enjoy, man. And I think ultimately the truth is it just kind of fits my lifestyle now. Like I don't have to sort of get too deeply involved with any of these live service games. they're for people with low attention spans, and I think increasingly people have bad attention spans. I don't know why. We're all cooked, man. I don't know.
I'm just even thinking of like Sony buying Bungie for their expertise in the live service arena because of their whole plan of releasing like 12 live service games. So they buy Bungie right off of the Microsoft acquisition of Activision Blizzard. And, you know, as Jason Schreier reported, Bungie played a lot of these live service games to offer feedback. And some of the feedback they offered to like The Last of Us Factions prompted Naughty Dog to cancel the game and move on from that. And I'm just has to wonder, did Bungie play Concord? And did Bungie think Concord was in a good state to put out?
Yeah.
And
good point.
All that stuff? Because, I mean, if they did, if they did play Concord and gave the Concord two thumbs up and was like, yep, you got something here, then that makes me question Bungie's I don't know, outlook, or Bungie themselves, because now we know like Destiny's in shambles, like, or that the leadership of Bungie couldn't run the company well enough, that they were just burning money constantly to the point where they needed somebody to buy them out. And it makes me wonder if it's just like, what other games that they play and maybe be like, nah, I don't know about this. Because I don't know, part of me thinks
I keep thinking about Last of Us Factions, man.
Yeah.
Because like you'd think Last of Us would lend itself well to that kind of survival genre. You know, stuff like there's a lot of games that are in the survival genre that are just, yeah, maybe they're a bit janky or a bit weird, but they're huge. I think people accept that when a game is sort of complicated in that kind of context, there's going to be a bit of jank to deal with. And then Sony's just like, oh man, we can't release this because we only do AAA bangers. But I think like you have to go through what Sea of Thieves went through when it launched, to get to where it was, which is basically a paid early access period. I asked Microsoft, like, why didn't you put Sea of Thieves for early access? Because they did have the game preview program back then. And they were just like, yeah, in hindsight, maybe we would have done, And since then, Grounded launched in early access, and Towerborn's going to launch in early access. Not on Xbox, mind, but it's launching in early access at least. But yeah, I don't know. I like to think that Last of Us Factions, because that's a game I would have been interested in. You know me, I like my zombie apocalypses, stuff like that. You can't really call them zombies in The Last of Us, I guess. What would you call them? Clickers, right? Clickers, yeah. I think the universe lends itself well to that kind of game. So I really wish I could have seen that. But the thing is, I also saw Blizzard's survival game, the fairy tale survival game, that they were making, and that looked fantastic. What I saw of it. Did I show you that footage? I feel like I did.
No, I didn't see it. I didn't care about it, so you wouldn't bother to show it to me.
What did I show you? I showed you Avowed, didn't I?
Mm-hmm.
The old Avowed footage. Yeah, so I used to have footage of that. I don't anymore, but I did for a time. I thought it looked
Project
fantastic.
Odyssey, right?
Project Odyssey, yeah. I thought it looked fantastic, and it was like, this is something I would play. But obviously I only saw a tiny slice of the game. Maybe that's all there was to it. Super bare bones. You don't really know. Game development's weird. I often think about this because, I've gotten back into WWE recently.
Mm-hmm.
So now, like, my algorithms are all WWE. WWE this, Undertaker podcast that,
Oh, you listen to Undertaker podcast?
I don't, but I get the clips of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I was just thinking when I was watching these wrestling clips and all the wrestling, the Vince McMahon documentary is coming out soon. That's going to be an absolute mess, by the Tiger King production team. And it just made me think, like, how, since kayfabe was broken, how transparent wrestling has gotten. where they talk about like even though like they're supposed to have a feud on TV, you'll still see like Dominic Mysterio going on, you know, Paul Logan's podcast and breaking character and stuff like that. And it's how transparent the WWE is about the business, all aspects of the business now, super transparent. And I sit there thinking, why is the video game industry nothing like this? Why is the video game industry so secretive all the time? Whereas like stuff like the WWE, it's just like they are completely open about everything, every aspect of the business, mistakes that have been made, all the stuff with Cody Rhodes at the start of the year and The Rock, all the stuff there. We know like the full story. I know like all the drama with CM Punk and AEW and all that stuff. We know everything. But all we get from the video game industry is whispers and rumors and conjecture and trying to put together a jigsaw puzzle with only half the pieces. I don't know. I don't get why it's so secretive. I don't feel like it needs to be that secretive. You know, show Last of Us factions in development and ask the public what they think of it. Show the Blizzard survival game. I bet if some of these games had been shown off in prototype for the public, and like to get feedback, um, I think some of them would have survived.
Yeah, but
You know.
haven't people complained, like devs complained, that sometimes they show stuff early, and then when the final version comes out, a lot of people will take the footage of what it looked like and how it ended up releasing, and then compare them and being like, oh, it looks worse or whatever.
Well, this is when they do like almost like a pre-rendered vertical slice or whatever, and I mean, yeah, there are some issues with this because there was a viral tweet this week where some dude was complaining about the pixels in the Grand Theft Auto trailer, or was like there was a skirt that was clipping through the legs of a character, and the guy was like, "See, look, all these mistakes Grand Theft Auto is making." But I think part of that is because they're so secretive about it. If all the publishers and all the devs are just like, "Yeah, here's the game development, Wilson will deal with it." If all of them together broke kayfabe like the WWE did with the screw job in the 90s or even before then, I suppose. But if all of them together just started showing off the games in development, I think people wouldn't be so nitpicky about it. And I think a lot more games will survive, and I think games would be better for it. You could get feedback more early on. Basically, what early access is anyway. You know, let the curtains come down. Tell us what went wrong with Last of Us Factions. Tell us what went wrong with the Blizzard Survival game. All that stuff. I don't know. It's whatever though. Video games are super secretive, and I don't really know why. Maybe there's a good reason for it, but I don't know what it is right now.
Mm.
Puddlegate. Cameron Partlow is in chat. Puddlegate.
Puddlegate, yeah, remember that?
Yep. Spider-Man's Puddlegate. I remember that.
XFleet with the 499 says, "You right, Rand. For example, Starfield is an 85 on OpenCritic, but some people talk about it like it's in the 60s. And did you see that IG article?" Indeed, we did. Jess, how come you don't write more clickbait?
I wrote a bit of clickbait this morning.
What'd you write?
I wrote. I suppose it wasn't really clickbait. AMD confirms Z2 Extreme chip aims to boost PC gaming handheld battery life by 300%. I mean, kind of clickbait, but they did actually say that. So maybe it doesn't count as clickbait. I don't know, man. I can't do clickbait. I feel dirty. You know? I mean, I could. And I know exactly the kind of things you'd have to write to get everyone mad and grift and do all that kind of stuff, but I can't do it, man. It's just not me. It's not me, bro. Why don't you clickbait? You could clickbait on YouTube.
Yeah, I could. What do you want, Mike? What do you want it to say?
I think you should do reaction videos, man, about just people's takes and just be like, oh, this guy's an idiot, and then get all their fan base pissed off, so you get exposure.
Oh yeah.
You know.
Yep, that sounds like the type of content I want to do. Not. What do we have here? JJ says Jez is the best journalist for sharing info about Wukong and MVC. Also, Xbox's 25th birthday is in 2 years. Could they do something special there? Maybe. 25th
I would hope
anniversary?
so.
That'd be 2026? Maybe the launch of a new console? I don't know. Potentially.
I don't know.
Maybe handheld comes out 1 year and then the console comes out the next year?
What if they just call the next Xbox and go back to the beginning?
Just call it what? Xbox?
Yeah.
Isn't that what
do
this is
that.
called? Isn't this the whole thing? Like, this is Xbox Series X is the designation?
So you think it's going to be called the Series X2?
I don't know what it's going to be called.
Microsoft's so bad at naming things.
Yeah. Me Puppet with the 5 says, what's your opinion on the Destiny Rising game? Is it a good or bad idea?
Oh yeah, so this was the news that they're making a mobile game with NetEase, I want to say.
Hey, Balatro's making a mobile game, and people are afraid for their lives with that being a mobile game.
Yeah.
So,
So,
good idea for
our
right?
our Windows Central. Everyone at Windows Central, I haven't played it myself, but everyone at Windows Central is obsessed with Balatro. They talk about it all the time on the Slack and stuff. So yeah, they were pretty much saying exactly what you just said, that their lives are going to be ruined. But was that the rumor that it was NetEase going to be making it? Because NetEase, they know mobile games, man. Love it or hate it. Do you guys have phones? But they made Diablo Immortal in partnership with Blizzard. And Diablo Immortal made a lot of money. Made a lot of money. And
Sure
continues to make a lot of money. So still going strong. So NetEase they're no mobile games. So if there was anyone that you could probably trust to do Destiny justice on mobile, it probably is a company like NetEase who have that expertise. I think didn't NetEase also make no Tencent. Tencent made the Age of Empires mobile game, which is also doing really well apparently. So I think you just need a company with expertise of. It's not necessarily making the game that's the issue on mobile. What it is knowing the user behavior on mobile. That's the issue with mobile game development. Is knowing like how users behave, because they behave completely differently to console or PC gamers, and you have to accommodate that fact. Whether it's like the length of the gameplay loop and the monetization stuff. I think if you're a studio that doesn't have, expertise in that arena, you can basically just waste a shitload of money. So, like, rather than Bungie making it, it should be a company like NetEase. So, even though I'm not a big Destiny fan, I mean, personally, I do think like if they are going to do a mobile, you want a company like NetEase to do it. But hey, maybe it'll just be a gigantic failure as well. Who knows?
Yeah. Juan with the 20 says Xbox is in a win-win situation even when they pissed off their fan base. For example, I'm planning on switching to PC, but unfortunately they still get my money. They're losing a fan, but I'm still a customer.
Yep, and the margins on your console sale are 0. So
I know.
they are
I
not
see
losing
people say
any
this.
money.
I see people say this though, Jez, but where are they getting money at?
Steam.
Okay, let me say it like this. I buy Warhammer 40K, right? I buy Star Wars Outlaws. I buy Test Drive, right? Okay, now I'm no longer an Xbox fan. Now I'm PC. And I go buy those games on Steam. Microsoft doesn't get any money out of that.
No, they don't.
So, how's it a win-win? If I was spending all my money on Xbox, buying all the games and microtransactions, and now if I'm moving to PC, And because their Windows Store doesn't have any of the big games that I want to play that I would purchase there, so now I have to go to a different store and buy all the games there and spend all my microtransaction money someplace else. How is that a win-win for Microsoft? I used to spend thousands of dollars a year on Xbox, on the Xbox store, and now I'm spending zero. Is that
It's
really
almost
a win?
as if, yeah, well, it's almost as if they're not going to stop making Xbox consoles, isn't it?
No, but I'm saying like in Juan's example here, unless he's like spending money on the Windows Store playing the games there. I mean, I guess like he could still be a Game Pass customer and in that regard, right?
Yeah, maybe it's just for him. Like
Yeah.
maybe he just plays the Forza, the Blizzard games, whatever. I mean, there are people in the if you are like a service game player, like I am, like it doesn't really matter where I'm giving Microsoft money. I'm giving them money playing Warcraft on my PC, But if you are a variety gamer, then sure. But the sad truth might be that there's better margins to just cut variety gaming loose. I don't think they'll do that, but the margins are certainly not with variety gaming, unfortunately. They're with games like Genshin Impact, which are cheap to make and expensive to buy microtransactions for. I don't know if you saw this, but Genshin Impact's developer Hoyoverse, or Cognosphere as they're known in the West for some reason, they announced 5 new gacha games today in pretty much every genre.
Yeah.
MMO, shooter. They're doing a gacha shooter game. They're doing all kinds of shit over there. So it's that's where the money is, man.
It
But
seems
you
like
aren't you aren't wrong. I mean, it's like, why would Microsoft want to give up all that money? And I don't think that's in the plan, is to give up that money.
Well,
I don't think the
maybe
plan is to get out of console
if their
gaming.
PC store was actually useful and functional, where all the games that you would want to play on console are there, right? Like if I could play Warhammer 40K on the Windows Store, and I don't know if you can. Can you? What? Can you check this?
You cannot.
So it's like,
you cannot.
why would anybody use that store? All the games that come out don't ever go to the store, and the only times they ever do is if they have a Game Pass deal.
Yep.
So, I mean, it seems to me like that's something you got to fix. If publishers aren't even willing to make a port to the Windows Store when they already, make their PC stuff for Steam. Not, like I said, I don't know much about like PC stuff. So is Steam versions of a game inherently that much different than the Windows Store version of a game? Where it would be a drastic difference in everything and it would just be not worth the time because there's nobody on the platform. But because there's nobody on the platform, nobody want to make it's like chicken and the egg.
There are scenarios where the Windows Store version, the Game Pass version even, is an older version than the Steam version, because the Xbox version's been the PC Game Pass version's basically just been abandoned. I mean, Microsoft's own games are sort of in this scenario at times, from some of their other studios, because nobody's playing it on that store and it's a pain to deal with by all accounts. So, yeah, it is an issue, and I suppose it kind of goes back to the question is, it doesn't make any sense for Microsoft to quit console gaming because they're making a ton of money doing it, and they're making zero money on the Windows Store. So why would they ever want to quit? But hey, maybe they're not making enough money. Maybe they think the margins would be better if they're a smaller company and just focus on the service games and Call of Duty, Minecraft, and all that kind of stuff. I don't know, man. Sometimes it's about profit margins. I don't know.
Just James says, member for 10 months. Since it's the anniversary of Starfield, then it's my anniversary of listening to the show when Jez had COVID and you had a group show. Keep it up, lads. I remember that show. We had a bunch of people on talking about Starfield. It was a good time. Well, thank you for being here for, since then. We appreciate it. Risk it for the biscuit. Good day, fellas. Did you guys jump into the COD beta? If not, is that because of the Series S? Damn you, Series S shakes fists. And they may bring Concord back, though, Rand. I mean, I did say there was two options. Either they completely pull the plug, or they release it again a year from now under a different name and free to play. So, I mean, I guess it, if you're Sony, what do? Do you just try again and hope for a better a better
Outcome.
roll this time? Or do you just take the write-off and write it off as a tax thing or something, like a tax, like a loss, and just be like, yeah, we tried this game, it didn't work, and we're done. I don't know what Sony's plans are, but I guess there's two things they could do. No, I did not play COD. I don't play COD for the multiplayer. Yes, I know I'm weird. Yes, I know I saw all the clips of people coming up behind other people and taking them hostage, and I told you when that first was debuted, I'm like, that's like literally just for social media and TikTok stuff, so people post it all over social media to get people to talk about the game and want to engage in it, right?
Yeah, other games are gonna rip that off now.
I do think risk it though. Jez played a lot of COD beta, didn't you?
I didn't. Actually.
Oh, you didn't?
Okay. I played a lot of Modern Warfare 3 when it come to Game Pass. I haven't had a chance to play the Black Ops beta yet, though. I want to, but then Blizzard dropped the best expansion WoW's had in years, so I've kind of just been playing.
Yeah, I only give a shit about COD for the campaign, and I'm looking forward to playing through the campaign. I have a feeling this one's going to be pretty good. I mean, it can't be worse than last year's. Because last year's was the pits. Got Jay Rembert with the 10. I think Everborn said it best about Xbox. If you leave, Microsoft will still get your money if you buy it on their platform. To me, Xbox makes the best hardware and controller, so I'm stuck. Yeah, I mean, I guess that is if you're buying their games on other platforms, but, that is true.
I don't think Microsoft's getting out of the game. But, the reasons you outlined. Like they like to publish other people's games. Their mission statement is empower others to do more. Whatever. Yeah. And you kind of can't empower others to do more if you give away your business to Apple, because that's basically what they've been doing there. Yeah. Or monopolists. That's the opposite of their mission statement. Apparently, I know. Really, their mission statement is make as much fucking money as possible, regardless of what happens. So, the mission statement isn't exactly the be all and end all, but
it's funny. I've had this conversation with Everborn, and he'll be like, "Oh, I bought this." He's like, "Oh, I bought this game on Steam so I can play on the Steam Deck," and I always, say to him, was like, "Oh, like, did Microsoft get your money out of that?" And he's like, "Well, no." I'm like, "So, if you leave, they're not going to get your money because you're not." That you could have bought that game on Xbox, and he's just like, you know what I mean? I'm like, Everborn. Yeah.
It's especially true the Steam Deck because you're not even using Windows there.
Yeah.
You're using Steam OS, which I think is an existential threat to Windows. But that's the funny thing. Like, Sony puts its games on Steam as well.
Everybody does, except Nintendo.
And the next Steam Deck is going to be serious business. It's going to have frame generation. It's going to have, better graphics.
Didn't some other company just announce a new Windows handheld?
Yeah, Acer just announced one.
Jesus.
I don't know if it's based on Z1 or Intel, but...
Is there enough people to support all these companies making these Windows gaming handhelds?
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter?
You make them to order. You make them to demand.
Yeah.
So if there's like... you make the stock to meet demand. You don't just, buy like 1 million units.
Yeah, but I get that. But it's okay. So you got ROG Ally, right? Who just released their second one, and they're probably going to release a third one. You have Legion, the Legion Go, right?
Lenovo.
Which one are they on? Their first one or their second one?
Their first one.
Okay, they're going to make a second one.
But I leaked.
You got Steam Deck that's going to do a second one.
Yeah.
You have... what other ones do you have?
You've got the MSI Claw, which is an Intel-based one, which is terrible by all accounts because it's Intel. If you want to do anything other than play indie games on that, you shouldn't even try. There's also now the Acer one is coming. I would be shocked if Razer is not making one, since they've already made Android handhelds. They might just be waiting for the Z2 Extreme chip, which was announced today. And you've got the Steam Deck, and then you've got the Nintendo Switch 2. And all of these systems are going to have AI machine learning frame generation next generation. So, that they'll become orders of magnitude better, but you got to think of you can't have a console mindset when it comes to these devices. You have to think of them more like laptops. The Z1 Extreme is literally in the laptop chip family from AMD. What's it called now? Something Strix? I can't remember what it's called. But you have to think of them like laptops, and it's like Dell and Acer and Lenovo. They all make laptops, but they know how big their audience is, and they make the laptops to order. The Lenovo, the Asus ROG Ally X sold out in a day, and that's because they made them to order, and now it's on back order, right? And then they print more, and they know how many pre-orders they get in, and it's like, oh well, spin up an assembly line and we make those as well. They're hardware manufacturers, and I'm telling you, there is so much more money in hardware than there is in gaming. Margins are so much better,
Yeah. It just seems like a lot, like so many of them, all the different iterations.
They all cater to different markets. It's like Samsung is super dominant in Korea, whereas Lenovo's more China oriented. But Lenovo does really well in the West as well. And then you've got Dell. I think Dell's the biggest in the world. I think off the top of my head, making laptops. Dell was actually the first company that came out with a prototype for one of these handhelds. The Dell, I think it was literally called the Alienware UFO. I think they called it, or something ridiculous. But they have yet to show off their version, as far as I'm aware. But these companies know what they're doing, man. But where's Xbox going to fit into all this? I think Xbox's strategy will be to undercut and subsidize with their own stuff. Whereas, I think your Lenovo's and your Asus and stuff like that.
I disagree with you. I think Xbox is done subsidizing their hardware.
I just mean compared to the other guys.
Okay, fair enough.
So I think Xbox is. I don't think they'll subsidize the hardware to the point where there's zero margins on it, like they have in the past. But I think theirs will be cheaper than Lenovo's and Asus's, maybe in exchange for less power or something like that. Kind of like the Steam Deck, because the Steam Deck is subsidized, but it's still expensive.
Talk a lot of shit about the Series S, but what if they just turned the Series S into a handheld? So it could run all those games.
Yeah.
And then it's just a handheld.
That'd be cool.
Would that work? I don't know.
I have no idea.
Isn't the Series S more powerful than the Steam Deck? Or the current iteration of it?
Yep. It's much more powerful.
Yeah.
But the Steam Deck's it's the thing, even though the Steam Deck is the least powerful one beside the Switch, it's the most usable one because it's designed for the form factor. Whereas the Asus ROG and the Lenovo, you're fighting against Windows, which isn't designed for touch. It's not designed for small screens. And a lot of those games, those Win32 games, they're designed for monitors, right? Whereas Valve made the Steam OS, which is basically Steam Big Picture mode, and it works flawlessly with a controller. And yeah, you lose a lot of power, but man, you can play indie games on that thing in low power mode, and you're looking at maybe 5 hours of battery life. Blows the Switch out of water. If you're playing the right kind of game and you limit the voltage on it, because you can manually limit the voltage. on these devices. I love the category, man. It's awesome. I want to see what Xbox does with it,
Yeah, I'd
man.
be interested to see what Xbox's approach is to that because they pretty much have to do something. I
have
think.
to. No choice.
Yeah. We got Dante with the 10. Haven't been able to catch the show live in a while, but wanted to say welcome back, Rand, and shout out to Jez. Hope you're doing well, Dante. And we have Xbox Expansion Pass. Luke, the insipid ghost, with $2 says, "Love you guys." We love you, Luke. Keep on rocking.
I just recommended them on our Patreon. Xbox Expansion.
I'm a Patreon member of Xbox Expansion Pass.
No.
Yeah.
We should get Luke on Xbox 2 sometime.
Yeah, we definitely need to have him on Xbox 2 plus one for sure. There's a trailer for the Minecraft movie. Which
oh man, I want to know. I want to see.
Awful.
I want to know what chat. Yeah,
I
want to know what chat thinks of this.
Yeah, chat. What did you think of the Minecraft? So Jason Momoa and Jack Black is Jack Black. Like they couldn't even get Jack Black to cut his hair or his beard. He's just playing Jack Black, but he's Steve. And like, granted, I know the movie's not for me. It's for kids, but I don't know. I thought it looked awful. And I don't know if you saw the like to dislike ratio on that thing. Woo! Did you see it?
I did. It looked shocking. I can't even put into words how I felt about it, because it's not like the CGI was bad. It was almost like just the art style was just, it was cursed. It was weird. It was like uncanny, like an AI generated approximation of what a Minecraft movie should look like. And then like the way Jack Black and Jason Momoa appeared in that trailer was like some kind of weird feverish nightmare. It was so fucking weird, man. It was just so weird. But I will say this. A lot of my friends who've got little kids, they were hyped out of their mind watching that trailer, dude. And I couldn't help but think, watching it, are they going for the skibbity toilet audience? Is that why it looks so weird? Because they think little kids like creepy fucking weird shit now? And then I thought, nah, I'm giving them way too much benefit of the doubt here. It's just weird because they don't get Minecraft. But anyway, man, it was super strange. Really strange. But maybe it's just going to be one of those movies that just does really well because it's so strange. And also because the star power you've got. But that trailer was not good. Like, either the jokes weren't good either. You know? I suppose, like, if you are making some kind of comedy, you should have at least maybe tried to put some good jokes in there, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, to be
I
fair,
don't know.
it was a teaser trailer, right? It didn't show really much of anything.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people in chat are saying, like, it's not for you, it's not for you. And it's true. This is, like, if there's any example of something not being for me, it's probably this right here. It's for kids.
Yes.
But I wonder if it's going to be one of these sort of, like... I was hoping that it'd be kind of like one of these movies that, yeah, it's for kids, but it's also at least, you know, it could resonate with adults as well. But it doesn't look like that's going to be the case. But hey,
yeah.
see, man.
So I'll probably make a ton of money next year, coming out in April 2025.
Yeah, I'm intrigued to see how much money it makes and how well it does. We'll see.
Undead Labs also made an announcement that they're officially done with State of Decay 2.
That game had a good run.
No more updates for State of Decay 2. I guess they're fully up on State of Decay 3. Although, were they even really doing any updates for State of... Wasn't it like Wushu doing the updates for it or something?
Wushu took over the updates not super long ago, but they did take them over.
Yeah, so...
But yeah, the studio is now like fully... I think that Wushu was leading it with some support from Undead Labs, but they've completely moved on from it now. So like maybe Wushu's even helping on State of Decay 3 because presumably they know the franchise now. But yeah, State of Decay 3 is probably my most anticipated game from Microsoft's core studios now.
Mm.
Um, I thought that trailer looked fantastic. Looked like the right kind of step up for the game. If they land what it looks like there in the game, I'll be very happy. I just hoping that like the co-op's better. It's less restrictive on the tethering. I think there's still going to be some tethering. I think they said, but it's not as restrictive as it previously was. But yeah, we'll see about all that stuff. What did you think? I mean, what do you think of State of Decay in general?
I didn't really care for State of Decay 2, so
Mm.
we'll see about State of Decay 3. I mean, the trailer made it seem like a nice visual step up. I'll wait to see it, to play it in 2026 when it most likely comes out.
State of Decay 2 is weird because it had tons of free updates, like a ton, but no microtransactions, nothing was paid in that game. So I was just kind of thinking like the whole time, how are these guys making any money? Or do they even care about making money? Is this all just data collecting for State of Decay 3? But I don't know.
I don't know. We got BHO reviews with the 5. My son is reading the Wheel of Time and keeps talking about Rand Thor. I'm keep thinking the Xbox and the podcast. Jez, what do you think about Metaphor?
Oh, Metaphor. Like, it looks interesting, but I'll be honest, Persona 5's kind of soured me on SMT in general right now.
Mm.
But and not because necessarily I didn't like it, but I just felt like it was so long to get to the meat of the game that I felt like it might be a game I would have enjoyed when I was much younger and I had more free time, I guess. Or better attention span, I suppose, is maybe a better way of putting it. I think it looks good though. I hope fans enjoy it. I don't know if it's gonna be something I get around to, but we'll see.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. Son's reading Wheel of Time, and it's all about Randall Thor, and it's like, wait a minute, that's me. It's funny, when I
That's
watch the
you.
show and they say Rand and Randall Thor, I'd be like, are they talking about me? It's funny. But anyways, yeah, if you guys are enjoying the show, make sure you hit the like button and please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Jez, do us a favor and read the Patreon questions.
Read the Patreon
Yeah.
questions. Damn. That mean I have to stop playing WoW.
Yeah.
Got herbs to pick, dude.
Dude, they can wait. I was telling
Right.
Jez earlier that now he has to play No Man's Sky because they added fishing.
That's another game I don't get. Like, there's so many free updates for No Man's Sky, and there's just like, I'm pretty sure is there any monetization at all in that game? How do they do it?
I don't know. I don't know. But it's
A Long
also
Dark as well. Long Dark. Tons of free updates, no monetization.
it's also an example of a game that, turned it around, right? After
Yep.
people were immensely disappointed with how No Man's Sky was when it first came out and to what it is now.
Yeah,
So-
it's a meme. The devs beg them to stop giving things away for free. And so like, please let us buy these updates. But yeah, let's get some Patreon questions in, and also smash that like button, please.
Yeah.
And if you want to drop Patreon questions yourselves, XB2, patreon.com/XB2, and you can drop them in there. Right, Silas. Oh no, it's not Silas. You're not first. Borderbrand is first. Borderbrand, hey fellas, hope you all having a good week. I'm having a debate with my fellow XB2 members about Josh Sawyer making the next Fallout game. Subeg is convinced he's making it after his answer on the Q&A recently where he said, sure, what am I allowed to do? What am I not allowed to do if Microsoft or Bethesda asked him to make the next Fallout? Personally, I don't think that'll happen. What do you think? And can you settle this debate? Thanks and have a great weekend.
I mean, how can we settle this debate? I don't know. Do you know? And even if I did know, I wouldn't tell anybody because Rand don't leak. I would make a prediction though.
Yeah, well, I think that's what he wants us to do is make a prediction because I have no idea if Josh Sawyer is working on the next Fallout or not.
I know that's what people want, right?
Yeah, people want it because Josh Sawyer led development on Fallout New Vegas. And Fallout New Vegas is generally hailed as the most Fallout-y modern Fallout, as in the one that gave you the most freedom of choice, you know. Whereas like Fallout 4 especially really pared back some of that choice and whatever. So
I just
a lot of people
wonder.
want to see Sawyer come back because he really pushes that whole idea of freedom. Pillars of Eternity had it as well. Love Pillars of Eternity. Like if you enjoy Fallout in Vegas, you should definitely give Pillars of Eternity a look as well. Even though like it's CRPG combat.
I think the
you know.
problem is if he were to do it. Let's say he's the creative director on it or the game director. Where's he getting his fellow devs from? Because you have one team that's working on Avowed.
Mm-hmm.
You have another team working on Outer Worlds, and
Mm-hmm.
presumably another team working on the next Grounded game, the Grounded team. You know, so yeah, you could say the Pentiment team, but the Pentiment team was never that big. You weren't building a Fallout game with 15 people, right? No. So where would he be pulling everybody from if he was the one making it? It would have to be like the Avowed team finishes Avowed and then immediately starts working on Fallout.
And then the Outer Worlds team comes in as well, because I think the Fallout game, there's a lot of expectations of the Fallout game that sort of like demand extra attention potentially, I think. I would love to see it happen. I think Josh Sawyer is, you know, a legend when it comes to writing these kind of games. So I would love to see him come back and do it, but will it actually happen? I mean, I don't want to make a prediction either way. Personally, I think it'd be too good to be true, and in a cynical kind of way. But who knows, man? I know that Todd was pretty protective of it.
Yeah.
Even though, like, I suppose what would be the ideal scenario is like in exile and Josh Sawyer, Todd, maybe even Team Kane all work together on the ultimate Fallout project. That would be crazy. I'd love to see what that looked like. But again, pie in the sky dreams, eh? Banana Peel Jack just got Shaco. Congrats to Banana Peel Jack. Shaco's a really good helmet in Diablo.
Oh, okay.
Right. It's quite small, but smells like a big one.
Yeah.
That name is shocking. That name is shocking, friend. Asks Rand Jez. I don't know if you've heard about this. It's kinda on the down low. But Sony is completely shutting down Concord. Damn. Exclusives here on XB2. Anyways, Rand Jez, what would you like to see from Sony and Xbox? What's your idea for each of them to print money? Example. I think BioWare could make an action RPG in the Mass Effect universe centered on Kai Leng and his exploits working for the Elusive Man pre-Mass Effect 3. Rand, I hope your nose holes are reopened for this episode. All the best.
Yeah, we're getting better. I can still feel a little bit of mucus in the back of my throat, which is why I'm having Jez read the questions. So I do kind of feel a little stuffed up a little bit, but
I'm just a slave.
What I would like to see from Sony and Xbox, great games. It's what I've always wanted to see from them. Great, awesome, amazing games in a lot of different genres. I don't need everything to always be in the same genre. What's your idea for each of them to print money? Geez, what could print money for them?
You know mine already. Mine would be port Heroes of the Storm to consoles and mobile.
Yeah.
Put Master Chief in it. Bring the Xbox IP to it with the Blizzard IP and make the ultimate IP MOBA. Fuck it. Put Tony Hawk in it, for God's sake. He could skateboard and smash his skateboard into Arthur's, dude. I think that's how you revive that game, and also have a MOBA that can compete with the best of them. You know, Valve's moving. They've got their Deadlock
Yeah.
coming up, which, you know, seems to be getting some critical acclaim right now. But that'd be mine, I suppose.
I mean, I still kind of wish Xbox would have revisited 1 versus 100.
Yeah,
Or like something,
like
something
along
along,
game for this generation.
something along those lines of a full community type experience where people log on to play the game together. That's why like 1 versus 100 was so cool and so unique.
Mm.
I don't know if it would print money, but it's definitely something people would be super excited about. I know when people talk about, hey, what sort of games would you want them to make? And it's like, listen, I don't even know what I want some of the times until someone gives it to me. I'm not really a creative person. So all I really want from any of these companies is great games. Now, they may not be in a genre for me, and that's fine. Like Age of Mythology Retold, the people that like those type of games are really enjoying, and that's great, But I'm sure they'll get around to, South of Midnight, Fable, Doom, Blade and stuff. Like, those are all games for me. Those are all games I'm super excited about, and I just hope they're all great. And same thing with Sony. Like, I'm not someone who's like, oh, Sony needs to make trash because I'm an Xbox fan. It's like, no, I'm a gaming fan first and foremost. I just have a preference for Xbox. And, I play my games on PlayStation when something interests me. And I hope the games are good because I want to get my value out of my money, right? I don't want to buy something that ends up being bad. So.
Yeah. I just think they should throw all the money at Blizzard, make StarCraft stuff, make...
Dude, a StarCraft,
Overwatch stuff.
But Warhammer.
Yeah, StarCraft but Warhammer. Just do the shooter. Just do it,
Oh, no, Souls-like.
Oh my god, man.
A Warhammer, a StarCraft Souls-like.
Like Remnant, maybe?
There you go, yeah.
Fuck, that'd be so good. That'd print money, man. That'd print money, baby. There's so much untapped potential in the Blizzard IPs, and Blizzard.
Yeah, the thing is, I saw like Delilah say this on Twitter. Is like, well, what's good having all these IP if you don't use them, right?
Exactly.
It's true. You got all these IPs you're sitting on. What good is having them if you never ever use them?
Indeed. Right, let's get another question from Omen. Happy Friday. So there's been a lot of hit pieces on the Series S lately based on information that later turned out to be false or taken out of context. Black Myth, Stalker 2, Avowed, Dune Awakening, and Enotria. That said, several new outlets are still writing rehashes of the same thing that Series S is causing problems. So what's up with the Series S and why is it so hated? In my opinion, without Series S target, the devs would be even less likely to ship Xbox Series X and PS5 games with 60 FPS modes, and I doubt nearly as many games would be Steam Deck compatible. I mean, these are great points, and it's kind of like it is interesting that like the Steam Deck, for example, is heralded as this like amazing device, but like the Series S is not, and I suppose it kind of reminds me of something Rand always says, which is like value isn't sexy. The Series S is the cheapest entry point to this current gen. It's cheaper than the Steam Deck by orders of magnitude. It's cheaper than the PS5 and the Xbox Series X by a huge amount. And it's vastly cheaper than buying a gaming PC. So like the sort of, it really bugs me, the sort of sneering attitude that especially like some game journalists and other content creators have towards this device, which is ultimately a value play. It's for people who want to or need to save money. And I think that's a noble effort that Microsoft has made. I think like there are some maybe technical things they could have done better to make devs have an easier ride when porting the games backwards. I think if you develop a game all up for Series S, which Microsoft does, then you can see the kind of power you can get out of that thing, and it can be pretty impressive sometimes. Like especially when it comes to gears and stuff that Microsoft themselves have made. But I think when it comes to backport into it, I think some devs get caught out by the RAM configuration and the fact that I think Microsoft maybe made a mistake there by making it so different to the Series X potentially. But these are things hopefully that Microsoft will use to learn, and especially if they are going to make a handheld. If the handheld does run the Series S versions of games, like your point about the Steam Deck, then it kind of vindicates the Series S in some ways. But I do think the Series S is unfairly blamed for a lot of stuff, which is why I keep running that joke on Twitter, like, oh god, the Series S caused the stock market to crash and all that kind of stuff, because there is a bit of Series S derangement syndrome going on.
Well, I mean, why some people don't like it is because a lot of people view it as a console that's holding back gaming, or like holding back the generation. So nobody's taking full advantage of the PS5 or the Series X because you have to dev to the lowest common denominator, Series S. So some people look at it and is like, damn, that Series S
the
for holding
lowest
back.
common denominator is old PC hardware.
I'm telling you why some people like it. It doesn't. I'm not saying like their their arguments are factual. I'm just saying like that's why some people don't like it. They view it as it's holding back the generation, right? They also, it's an easy thing to pick on Microsoft about. I don't like Microsoft, and I can hate on this device because I've seen developers talk shit about it. We've saw that one developer who I think used to work at Naughty Dog, who worked at Suicide Squad. Basically, he's like, oh, I wish it didn't exist. The Doom developer, before they got acquired for Microsoft, he talked shit about it too, and then deleted his stuff after he got acquired. Right? So people don't know the reasons for why a lot of some of these games skip Xbox, and the easiest assumption is, oh, it's a Series S because of what happened with Baldur's Gate 3, right? With the parity clause of the co-op and stuff, right? So every time
the main issue about the Series S really is the parity clause.
Well, right. So every time a game doesn't come, or the developer says they're having issues, people are quick to point out Series S. Like when Tara said, "Hey, we're not going to hit Xbox," the first thing you saw on Twitter was fucking Series S, fucking Series S, holding back Xbox again, right? Xbox gamers need to call this system out because it's ruining everything. And it's like, eventually it comes out. I was like, no, Series S version is fine. It's Xbox that dropped the ball not answering emails. Or even, hey, Black Myth Wukong, highly anticipated game comes out. They say, oh, well, the Xbox platforms, we want to release it there, but it's not up to our standards. We need to optimize. First thing everyone says, fucking Series S. God damn it. Now Xbox is missing out on one of the biggest games of this year, one of the biggest games of the generation. A kind of a parallel to what happened with Baldur's Gate last year. Of course, until you find out that they took an exclusivity deal to not launch it on Xbox at the same time, which a lot of people don't realize, like, the real issue with all this, with that is that they got caught in a lie. Right, that's nobody really talks about that, like about the Black Myth Wukong thing. If it ends up being true, with you have all these different websites saying it is
allegedly, and
Microsoft basically coming out and saying so in their statements, is that the reason it was kind of news was because if Xbox is right, then Game Science just completely fabricated a lie to make it seem, or to make it so they wouldn't have to announce they took a money hat. And getting caught in a lie is never good, right? So so I mean, the Series S is just, it's just like a moth to a flame. People are constantly gonna come after it because like, oh, it's holding back the gen. Games are missing the platform because of it, or it takes extra time, like the Dune Awakening guys, because they said it was gonna be a challenge. Which yeah, I mean nobody said it was gonna be easy. Of course, it's gonna be extra work and stuff like that, and it is what it is, you know.
Yeah.
But that's why a lot of people don't like the Series S. So
Yeah, it is what it is. I do think that I would love to see the Series S vindicated as being the target SKU for the handheld, but I don't think that's going to
let
happen.
me ask you this question.
I think the handheld's going to be Windows based. Go on.
Let me ask you this question. Do you think? I guess this is like a two-pronger. Do you view the Series S as a failure? And do you think Microsoft would view the Series S as a failure? I guess that's like your personal viewpoint versus like Microsoft and their business. You know what I mean?
It's an interesting question. It's hard because I'm not target audience for the Series S. I'm someone who would buy the Series X and has the means to do so. But as someone who has known poverty as a youngster, especially as a youngster, I think like the Series S does what it sets out to do, which is basically let people access the most popular games of the moment for the lowest price possible. You can still run, the vast majority of the most popular games, whether it's stuff like Minecraft or Roblox, all the way to like higher end stuff like Call of Duty. You can run all that shit on the Series S and have a really good time. So I think from that perspective, for the mass market, I think it's a success. Does Microsoft view it as a success? Because it's definitely added a lot of discourse to the Series X and S platform, and also probably some controversy with devs. And also, you split your player base between two target SKUs. That's potentially came about at the wrong time while the industry's having this upheaval right now and people are looking at every which way to cut costs as much as possible. I do wonder if a lot of devs wouldn't just opt out of the Series S if they could and just target the Series X. But plenty of devs are still targeting the Xbox One, which kind of blows the whole argument out of the water.
Yeah.
If you are a dev still targeting PS4 and the Xbox One, you kind of lose the privilege to bitch about the Series S, frankly. So it's been a weird gen, and I think the Series S has had some pros and cons. I'd have to ask someone at Microsoft how they feel about the Series S and how it's gone, because Microsoft never really talks about it from a business perspective. Goes back to what I was saying earlier about them being so fucking secretive. That's an interesting question,
Yeah.
and I suppose that can count as your Patreon question since you are technically on the Patreon, so you do get the question. You never use it though. Right, next question from Silas. Thank God it's Friday. How do you guys personally prepare for a 4 hour, 3 hours when Randy's out there and there is no chatting about books and walking sims podcast? Do you eat before? Have snacks at the ready? Early day nap, comfy clothes, vocal exercises? I do zero preparation for a podcast. Zero. Like I've seen I do my other podcast on Sundays, which is my Warcraft podcast with Unshackled Fury with Berserker, and he's got like notes prepared and all this stuff, and we record into Audacity so we can have higher quality audio, and and he does all this prep, which is great. I love him for it, but I just sort of show up. Maybe I'll have a bottle or something. Like I went down and got a bottle of Diet Cola before we did today's show. But yeah, I don't know if you do anything, Rand. Maybe we should be like doing vocal exercise and shit, because my voice does start hurting at the end 4 hours sometimes.
I mean, I always make sure to eat right beforehand, so I got some energy. Um, you know, I try to get a good night's sleep, and I'll usually like wake up right before the podcast, like 12:30. Like, all right, just get a good night's sleep. So I'm nice and refreshed when I wake up. Grab some food, eat that. Sit down, kind of think about what to put in the title, and then grab some topics and write them down, and then join the call and work around Jez's audio issues. So
Yeah,
you know,
I've had very little sleep today. I got up at 7, and now I got 7 in the morning. Now it's midnight, so I've been awake for a really long time, and it is. I was thinking like I should have a nap before today's show. I just didn't have time. So like it is difficult sometimes with trying to stay awake and have high energy when we have such different time zones.
mm-hmm.
But we do our best. I do find the shows are better when I have slept. Like the other week, my sleep cycle was really messed up, and I think when I did the solo show, I just gotten up at like 6 p.m. So it was basically like morning for me, and I was super high energy, and it worked really well for that show since I was going solo. Um, but I couldn't do the 9 p.m. shows without sleeping solo. Rand has to do a bit of heavy lifting there. But yeah, I don't really prep. Not really. Maybe we should. Anyways, let's get another question. Bear with me one moment. And the next question is from Achievement. With launching Gen 10, what do you think about launching the handheld first? It'll probably sell more and have a year or more on the market lead. And when the PlayStation 6 drops, you launch the traditional console next to it, so Sony doesn't have an extra year of development on Xbox in the traditional hardware space. So what Achievement is asking, like, how do you stagger the launches of the handheld
Yeah.
and the
Well, I mean,
console?
I kind of said we had a question about 25th anniversary in 2 years of 2026. I kind of
Hmm.
said like, oh, what if you drop the handheld in 2026
Yeah.
as part of the
And I
25th
suppose, like,
anniversary, and then the following year you drop the console, right? I don't know.
work's already started on the handheld, and it's actually publicly accessible. And I don't think a lot of people realize this, but the Xbox Game Bar on Windows now has a compact mode, and I have it on good authority that is literally designed for the Xbox handheld, which makes me think that it is going to be a Windows-based device, which means that potentially it could launch sooner than the next gen Xbox, which I think is going to be a bigger engineering undertaking potentially. Unless that is also just Windows as well, I suppose. So I think, yeah, maybe we get the handheld sooner. Maybe it's based on the Z2 Extreme chip, and maybe it's a more traditional thing. And then like maybe the one after that is more Xboxy maybe. I think it's going to be I think it's going to be a journey to get the handheld right. I don't think they're going to get it right out the gate. I think it'll be good, but I don't think it'll be perfect out of the gate. But I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they won't really nail it, or maybe they prefer to launch them both together. I think, though, I agree. Though I don't think they should launch them both together. I think it would be better to launch them at separate times so you can maximize their interest and return on it. I don't know if you feel differently, Rand.
I sort of feel like that. Yeah, I like the idea of separating them.
Yeah, I agree. I concur. I think it's definitely happening though. I mean, we constantly talk about this handheld like it's real, even though there's like no real information on it. But it's real. It's real, okay? Dave Ramos, hola gents, and good vibes going into the weekend. What are Series S haters gonna do when Xbox again offers a low power SKU for Gen 10 gaming? What are those same haters gonna do if, God forbid, Sony offers a low power handheld to accompany the PlayStation 6? After all the fuss, will we see the goalpost move again? So that's a good point. Because if Sony does a handheld as well, it's not going to be as powerful as a PS6. Probably not
No,
even going to be as powerful as a PS5. probably maybe going to be comparable to PS4 at the most. In which case, do you start blaming Sony for holding back the gen? It would be a goalpost moving. Do you think, Rand? It's weird because like people accept low power as long as it's a handheld,
See,
but if it's just affordable,
I don't
then no,
think
it's not okay.
I don't think Xbox is gonna offer a low power SKU next gen.
I don't think so
I
either.
think it's gonna be one console and it's gonna be a handheld.
But the low power SKU will be the handheld because it'll still be low
Yeah,
power.
but there won't be the There won't. I don't think they're gonna do two consoles.
No.
So it'll be one and then the handheld. And what will Sony do? I mean,
I think Sony's doing a handheld too.
the
I think
Portal
that's the
seems to be
rumor.
pretty popular. Does that indicate that there's a lot of interest on that side for another PSP? And if so,
Suppose.
okay, if you come out with it, does that PSP, is it powerful enough where it can run PlayStation 5 games and PS4 games and have like access to all those games through whatever back compat they would do and just not have any new games on the PS6?
Man, that's a good point of discussion because man, they wouldn't really be able to use Windows, or I suppose they could.
But then again, like, does God of War like Ragnarok when it comes out, is that going to be able to run on the Steam Deck?
No,
I mean,
no,
does
no,
God of War
no, no,
2018, does that not run on the Steam Deck?
no,
Or
not very
Ghost of
well.
Tsushima?
No, not very well.
No.
On the Steam Deck, no, it's not a good experience. You can do it if you hate yourself. It's not a good experience.
Yeah, but does it run okay
but the
on the
thing is,
ROG Ally?
yes, it runs okay on the ROG Ally. But the thing is, next gen is going to have a lot of this frame generation tech, which means that they can upscale and add higher frame rates using machine learning rather than doing it natively. Um, so maybe the argument shifts a little bit next gen. We don't hear a lot of this like, oh, holding back the gen, because devices like the Series S would be elevated by this kind of technology. Begs the question, maybe it becomes cheaper to make high-end feeling games with all this new technology coming up. Sofa King in chat says frame generation sucks. Right now, the downside of frame generation is it does introduce input lag. So like I was using frame generation on the Lenovo Legion Go to play Black Myth Wukong. There's a great app on Steam called Lossless Scaling, which injects some of the latest algorithms for this stuff in. It's not perfect today, but I think like as the technology improves, I think like it will get to a point where it's just commonplace. I've heard the Nintendo Switch 2's gonna have this tech in it. A lot of the new chipsets are designed around having cores dedicated to this kind of stuff. So I think like while the technology is nascent right now, I think it will get better. So I think a lot of the hardware arguments will be different next gen because of that anyway. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. Next question is from Chimera Chasm. Have either of you boys got your pre-orders in for Warhammer 40k Space Marine 2? Can't wait to play it all weekend in 3-player co-op. So we did talk about Warhammer a lot on the show. So sorry about that, Chimera.
Yeah.
I have downloaded the game. I haven't played it just yet.
You need to play it.
Yeah, I do. I'm gonna try and get playing it this weekend a little bit. But by all accounts, it's pretty damn good. Sierra11 Kevin says, "Hey, Rand and Jez, as always, appreciate you both. With the lack of success of some recent live service games, do you think publishers might now pivot to taking more risks on games? Chasing a popular genre, even if you make a great playing game, is not a guarantee to get people's time and money. My hope is that some of these failures drive a change to take more risks and innovate. Microsoft is listening. My example of a game would be a new Phantom Dust, third person, card deck element. Seems like there would be ways to monetize and find a new market. Maybe this is a long way of saying I want a new
Wait,
Phantom
is
Dust.
Sierra 1 Kevin Miles Dampier? That seems like something Miles Dompier would say. A fan dust.
Yeah, I agree.
I think you outed you as Miles.
Yeah, true that. I think what he's asking ultimately is, do they think instead of trend chasing, ultimately to simply miss the boat? That's what Concord is, right? Concord is an attempt to capitalize on a trend that is now saturated, and they did it too late,
Yes.
too little, too late.
Yes.
So
but like you mentioned,
but
Deadlocked is coming by Valve. That could be a hit, right? Or
yeah, but
Marvel
there's
Rivals
some innovation. It's
from
innovates though, a
NetEase
little bit.
has been widely regarded. It's pretty good, and I mean, but that also features IP people love, right? With
Yeah,
Marvel, so
it's hard, right? The game business is difficult because if you take a risk and lose, it can be absolutely devastating.
yes, absolutely. 'Cause
But if you
we
take a
don't know what's
risk,
up with Concord. Are they cutting it completely out, or are they gonna revamp it and release it in a year under a new name? And then what happens to the devs at that studio? Is Sony gonna shut them down? Is Sony gonna
yeah.
give them another chance? And another chance is like, okay, for another 5 years. And even you look at the games that we know Xbox is making, like look at their current catalog of games that Microsoft is making with Xbox Game Studios, Bethesda, and Activision Blizzard. How many of those games are like what you would consider live service? Maybe Everwild, but not really a lot of them, right? I mean, Gears will have elements of it because of the multiplayer. The next Halo will have multiplayer and stuff. Fable, you probably might consider a live service because it probably have like updates and things of that nature, maybe expansions. But you wouldn't typically like refer to those as like live service in the way that I think people view Concord as, right? Where Concord is like, oh, here's a 5v5 hero shooter. Like Xbox ain't making no 5v5 hero shooter. I don't think any of their teams are. Because I think it's like we have Overwatch 2, and we also have Call of Duty, and we have all of these studios that already make live service stuff that are successful.
And we got Bleeding Edge.
Yeah. Which, so you can already see like where Xbox is sort of like, yeah, maybe trying to chase down any more of that pie isn't the right thing to do.
Yeah.
But that's just them. We know from other studios, publishers that no, they're still doing it. So I don't know. We'll see what the next big fad is going to be. I mean, you have Marathon coming out. I don't know if it's still an extraction shooter. What if Marathon comes out and extraction shooters become the next hot thing? Just like Battle Royale became the next hot thing, and then everybody chases after that. Then it shifts and people make games, that they think people want.
They're gonna have the work cut out though, because you've got a lot of established extraction shooters already, and you've also got Delta Force, which is a game nobody in the core community really talks about, which is actually looking like it's going to be pretty huge on mobile and in like China and stuff like that.
I was talking about
Delta Force has a whole extraction mode attached to it.
Is there an extraction game on console yet? And I don't.
Doesn't Call of Duty have an extraction mode?
I think it might.
Am I tripping?
I think it might.
Didn't I add an extraction mode? Yeah, Delta Force is like Battlefield extraction mode.
Oh, Battlefield! There's another franchise. Can't wait to see what they do with that next.
Fuck all, I think. Dude, I'm so sad about Battlefield, dude.
Yeah.
I'm not happy about Battlefield. I'm not happy about Battlefront either. Battlefront absolutely should have gotten a sequel, but oh well. Yeah, I fucked it up, didn't I? Like, they fuck up everything. Although, there was a side note, there was a Dragon Age preview event
I
this week,
did. I saw that. Yep.
and I think there's an embargo, so people aren't talking about it in a lot of detail, but it does seem like there's a lot of positivity about Dragon Age.
Mean that positively peddler Paris?
Positivity peddler Paris.
Yeah.
Oh, that's some alliteration right there, man. Oh, that's so weird. Why are people so weird on the internet, dude?
I know.
So weird. So weird on the internet. Anyways, let's get another question, because I'm going to fall asleep.
Yeah, we got Governor Grimm. Good morning, afternoon, evening, depending on where you are.
You're doing them now.
I'll do it, yeah. My question this week is about the industry. Do you think the industry keeps chasing the games as a service games at this point? If not, where do you think their focus... Oh, did we just do that question?
No.
Oh, okay. So another games as
It's
a
a
service
similar.
question?
It's a
Yeah.
similar question. Yeah. I mean,
They're going to follow the money. And I don't know if they view Concord as an indictment on the whole live service thing. I think Concord is an indictment on misreading the market and pricing something that should have been free in the first place. And when you make something that isn't appealing to anybody, that's sort of the problem you're going to run into.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, we already saw that their live service strategy worked with Helldivers 2. It's the fastest selling Sony game of all time. And a large part of that has to do with the PC side of things. So, I mean, you look at what went right with Helldivers 2 and why did this sell so much and what consumer itch did this scratch that so many people were willing to buy it. And you got to do a postmortem on Concord and be like, where did we fail? Internally, the game had high marks. We bought the studio because of the fucking game. And it's the biggest disaster you can possibly imagine. So what can we learn from Helldivers 2 and what can we learn from Concord? And they'll go from there, you know? I don't think that's going to change. I don't think Concord's failure is going to change any other publisher's plans about live service stuff. Because they all think, oh, well, we know what we're doing, and they didn't, you know what I mean? But I mean, honestly though, Jez, like Concord's demise was like so apparent, like right from that first trailer. But,
yeah, just unappealing. I think like finding the innovation is going to be tough, but I think ultimately it's innovation what drives the industry. Stuff like Balatro we were talking about earlier. Hopefully they give some of their publishing teams and developers more breathing room to innovate smaller little games like that, but we'll see what happens.
We have good old Collinwood. Hello, Rand Jez. So a week of ups and downs for Sony. On one hand, we have the failure of Concord, on the other hand, the success of Astro Bot. At the end of the week, in your opinion, did PlayStation end up the right side of the ledger of fortune or on the wrong side? Did Astro Bot do enough to put PlayStation in the black, or was the hole dug by Concord keep PlayStation in the red? That's interesting. I mean, I guess it determines how much how much money Astro Bot makes, how many copies it sells, if it covers for the lack of sales for Concord. But I can imagine Sony didn't project that they would make zero money on Concord, though. And I'm sure they probably...
Negative money, really.
Yeah, and I'm sure they probably felt that Astro Bot was going to review well regardless and would probably sell a certain amount of whatever. It does help that the game came out the week they shut it down, because now everybody's talking about Astro Bot and how amazing it is, instead of like, what happened with Concord. So they lucked out that Astro Bot was scheduled to release now. It'd be a different story if Astro Bot was going to come out in October. So that's kind of like, the winds of fate kind of, fortune for them. I don't know. I mean, rumored price for Concord's $200 million. That's a lot of money to make up. and how much is an Astro Bot game gonna sell? How many copies at whatever price point, and then whatever its budget was. So, I'm sure PlayStation is not happy with what happened with Concord, because that's just going to eat into their eat into their revenue,
Financials.
eat into their financials. I wonder what it's like having to do like a full on refund for that too. Like, oh, by the way, here's we're refunding everybody. Here you go. Like, does that have any tax implications or any sort of things? I don't know. We got Trixar for Trey. Hey guys, Rand, glad you survived. I went to PAX over the past weekend. I don't get Microsoft. They were a no-show other than Phil talking about the mess ups of Xbox. You have a huge showing at Gamescom and then you have PAX West in your own backyard and you don't show up. What the hell? You have all these games you talk about and an opportunity to show them off in your home turf, but you just don't show. I don't understand. Make it make sense. Probably because Gamescom is a bigger event with more people.
Gamescom is... PAX and Gamescom, they're not even in the same universe.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, if PAX is absolutely minuscule compared to Gamescom, even E3 is minuscule compared to Gamescom. Gamescom has, like, I think, wasn't it like 800,000 attendees or something ridiculous? Unless you've been to Gamescom, you do not know how big that show is. It is fucking massive. It's huge. So Microsoft goes to Gamescom to try and court PC gamers ultimately, which is, what the European market is PC gamers. But they're also going over to Japan for the Tokyo Game Show.
No, they're not though.
Huh?
They don't have a presence at Tokyo Game Show.
No, okay. Well, there's some execs going over.
Sure, but
they're doing a stream.
Like
it.
Xbox has all the booths at Gamescom. They're doing a stream for Tokyo Game Show, but they don't actually have like a floor presence or any of that stuff.
Yeah. You know what I mean. But I think like they're gonna have partnerships with people to have a full presence there. But I think like when it comes to PAX and stuff, the reason they don't do it is because they've pretty much got that market on lock, I suppose, or at least as much as they can do. And I suppose it's about like using the budget they've got to maximize the return on investment ultimately, which is why we're not even getting a BlizzCon this year, And I suppose they thought like better for us to spend the money doing other things this year, unfortunately. And it's weird because this year is the 30th anniversary of Warcraft and the 20th anniversary of World of Warcraft.
Yeah. Plus, Gamescom happened end of August, and PAX West. I mean, that's pretty soon after the end of August, so probably difficult to get ready for two shows like that. And you're probably going to prioritize the bigger one, and that's Gamescom. So PAX West loses out. We have SJ Dub. Hey, Jez and Rand. I'm glad to hear that you're feeling better, Rand. I hope the rest of your family is also doing better. I have a book question for Rand this week. Sorry, Jez. I'm almost done with Project Hail Mary, and I've loved it so far. What would be a good next book to jump into? I'm just getting back into reading and don't think I'm ready yet for a full book series, so another one-off would be good. Have a great weekend, fellas. Another one-off.
Read The Wasp Factory.
Yeah.
The Wasp Factory. It's a one-off.
Jez would say read The Wasp Factory. I would read, if you're looking for a one-off sci-fi, I would read Dark Matter from Blake Crouch or Recursion from Blake Crouch. If you want just another one-off, I think those would be. I think most people would like those too.
I read the Pokemon manga.
We got Just James 93. Hey, Rand and Jez, I love the show. Like and subscribe, guys. Today is a good day. I finally finished Final Fantasy XIV First Expansion. Woohoo! 6 whole freaking months it took me to do everything in the base game. Damn, that's a long time. Just want to give a big shout out to Jay Wiseau for the Star Wars Outlaws. It'll be my next game. But my question is, where's my Pixel remaster for Xbox? I've been Final Fantasy 14 bitch for 6 months. Where is the Square? Jokes. I really love the game. Just want my pixels. Rant over. I think you'll get your pixels soon enough. Don't worry. I think you will get your pixels. Maybe it'll be announced at Tokyo Game Show. You know?
It'll be a good place to announce some pixels, I think.
Yeah. Super Chat, we got RDX Son of Fett, $6.99. Do you think Xbox will combine PC and Xbox ports into one like Nintendo did with your handheld and console games, maybe cut on dev time? Maybe. What do you think, Jez?
What was the question exactly?
Combine PC and Xbox ports into one, so you don't really have to convince
dev environment.
Like, okay, because right now we talk about how there's no games go into Windows Store, but if they combined it where you could...
Oh, your Xbox version runs on the Windows Store.
Yeah. Where it's like they combined it. I'm assuming that's what he's talking about.
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you straight up, they are working towards that. There's been a long ongoing effort to unify the development environment between Windows and Xbox to some degree, which is why I think the next Xbox console is going to be a lot more Windowsy than previous generations. And part of that is to decrease costs for developers even more, building for Xbox. Whether the execution's there remains to be seen. But yeah, I think they will do that.
And we got last super chat here from Bryos. What the fuck Xbox going to TGS doing? You think we will get a Final Fantasy VII Remake announcement?
I think we could get a general Final Fantasy announcement with a hint of Final Fantasy VII. But we'll see.
Okay. Well, Jez, you know what? That's everything. I think we talked about everything we want to talk about. I'm looking forward to playing some more Warhammer 40k and some Astro Bot this weekend. You need to play some Warhammer. Do you have any other plans for this weekend? Any other things you're looking forward to doing? Watching?
I'm going to a birthday party.
Okay.
Yeah.
What day? What day are you going to the birthday party?
Saturday. So I'll be indisposed on Saturday, but on Sunday I'll be podcasting about Warcraft with Unshackled Fury, and then probably playing Warcraft as well.
Yeah, surprise. More Warcraft for Jez. But anyways, guys, we appreciate you all being here for, almost 4 hours, listening to the show, hitting the like button, subscribing. This has been episode 330 of the Xbox 2 podcast. And hope you have a great rest of the weekend. Enjoy gaming. And we will be back here hopefully on Tuesday for you wonderful Patreon members, whether an Xbox 2 plus 1 or an Ultimate. But we will be back for sure on Friday next week. So later, guys. Keep it gaming. And have a good one. Peace.
Take care, everybody.